Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Moncton Wildcats coverage of the 2021 QMJHL Entry Draft. My name is Tim Roszell. I'll be your host here tonight. The 2021 QMJHL Entry Draft marks the start of a brand new season in the QMJHL, and hopefully, for everyone's sake, it is a season that sees so many fewer roadblocks and challenges than what we've seen over the last couple of years with the COVID-19 pandemic. But it all starts here with the 2021 QMJHL Entry Draft. Round number 1 goes tonight. And for the second year in a row, due to the pandemic, round 1 and rounds 2 through 14 are being held virtually. Instead of everybody gathering at one particular location, one particular arena, everybody is in their own respective cities, hunkered down with their general managers, their directors of hockey operations, their team presidents, and everybody going over their draft lists, and all the picks will be made virtually once again this year. That includes the first round here tonight, and it is only round 1 that goes tonight. But as many of you who have been following the QMJHL for a long time know, round 1 in the QMJHL is often very, very exciting, filled with trades and oohs and ahs and all kinds of exciting activity. And hopefully that will be the case once again here tonight. So what you will see on our broadcast this evening, I will be hosting, as I mentioned, and we will bring you lots of different things throughout the evening. We are going live to the QMJHL Draft, and we'll show you several picks along the way this evening, including that first overall selection when it is made. In just a few moments, though, we're going to begin our coverage by joining the commissioner of the QMJHL, that is Gilles Courteau, as we bring you his season opening, or draft opening, if you will, address. Then a little bit later on, we're going to come back. We're going to take a look at the week of trades that the Moncton Wildcats made. If you missed it earlier this week, the QMJHL opened a trade period back on Wednesday, and the Wildcats made 4 deals as part of their pre-draft activity, and we'll bring you up to date on the changes that the Wildcats made on Wednesday. We will also take a look at where the Wildcats sit in terms of what picks they have to start the day. And I say to start the day because things can change at a moment's notice. Richie Thibault, the Wildcats director of hockey operations, you know that his phone is ringing off the hook, that he's getting text messages, and so are all the other GMs around the league as teams are jockeying for position. We can tell you that at this moment, the Wildcats do not hold a first-round pick in the QMJHL Entry Draft. The Rimouski Oceanic on the other side of the coin have 4. How things will change throughout the course of the night, it will all be determined as we move along here tonight. Speaking of Richie Thibault, we're going to catch up with Richie before that first overall pick is made as well, and he'll bring us up to date on the moves that the Wildcats made and also his thoughts heading into round 1 of this 2021 QMJHL Entry Draft. So sit tight. It's going to be a great night of action here as you join the Moncton Wildcats 2021 QMJHL Draft coverage. Coming up in just a moment, we're going to hear from QMJHL Commissioner Gilles Courteau.
Bonsoir tout le monde, mon nom est Michael Alancette et je vous souhaite la bienvenue à cette séance de sélection de la Ligue de hockey junior majeur du Québec 2021 présentée par Fenplast. Ce soir, 20 joueurs seront sélectionnés en première ronde de ce repêchage de la Ligue de hockey junior majeur du Québec. Ce sera un immense plaisir de vous faire découvrir ces joueurs, de réaliser des entrevues avec les différents intervenants du circuit Courteau, d'analyser un peu les décisions de tout un chacun et j'aurai le privilège justement de passer la prochaine soirée avec Pierre Chalette, directeur du Centre de soutien au recrutement de la LHJMQ. Pierre, bonsoir.
Bonsoir, Michael.
Comment a été la dernière année, Pierre, pour évaluer les jeunes espoirs midget un peu partout dans l'Est du continent? Ça n'a pas été facile pour tout le monde. Comment as-tu vécu cette année? Un peu d'ajustement, disons ça comme ça.
Effectivement, il a fallu qu'on s'ajuste beaucoup. Ça a été, tout le monde sans doute, c'était relativement difficile, c'était différent. D'avoir la chance de voir les joueurs, non pas en personne, dans des événements, des tournois, les séries, ainsi de suite. On s'est adapté, on s'est contenté du vidéo et ainsi de suite. Certaines parties du territoire, ils ont eu la chance de jouer des parties. Dans d'autres parties du territoire, c'était beaucoup plus restreint.
Des casse-têtes pour des recruteurs parce qu'on veut toujours faire le bon choix dans les séances de sélection. On ne veut pas se tromper. Parlons un petit peu du sérieux qui a été mis. Les différents recruteurs ont regardé des séances vidéo, ont pu assister dans les dernières semaines à des séances d'entraînement. On a mis à profit la connaissance du terrain par rapport aux recruteurs de la Ligue de hockey junior majeur du Québec.
Ce qui était bien, là, c'est qu'on a eu beaucoup de collaboration de la part des équipes là, au niveau du hockey mineur qui se sont aussi adaptées. Il ne faut jamais perdre de vue qu'on fait ça pour le bien des jeunes. Puis c'est ce que tout le monde avait en tête aussi. Fait que, autant au niveau des équipes junior majeures, les recruteurs, on a dû s'adapter. C'était pas la situation idéale, mais on a fait avec les moyens qu'on avait. On a sollicité beaucoup les équipes, les entraîneurs, les évaluations, les tests de personnalité, et ainsi de suite, pour continuer à offrir le service à nos équipes, pour leur permettre là, de se construire une liste de repêchage là, pour aujourd'hui.
On a regardé avec attention la liste finale du Centre de soutien au recrutement de la Ligue de hockey junior majeur du Québec. Quelle impression globale ou générale tu tires de cette QV 2021 du circuit Courteau?
On a des très bons joueurs, on a encore des très bons joueurs. C'est relativement au niveau de la profondeur. Il y a beaucoup de défenseurs de qualité, beaucoup d'attaquants de qualité, autant au niveau du Québec, au niveau des Maritimes, des gardiens de but aussi, des gros gabarits, et ainsi de suite. C'est difficile d'évaluer au moment présent. Souvent, le repêchage, on va attendre peut-être un 2 ou un 3 ans pour finalement là, porter une meilleure évaluation, là. Mais je le sais très bien que c'est encore une bonne séance. Les équipes vont encore chercher à améliorer leur rang de sélection parce que, justement, il y a des bons joueurs. De ce côté-là, moi, je ne suis pas inquiet.
Il pourrait y avoir des surprises ce soir et demain, tout au long de la journée, parce qu'on le rappelle, ce soir, c'est le premier tour. Demain, ce seront les rondes 2 à 14. The Maritime players played a lot of many games to compare to the Quebec players. Is it an advantage in terms of development?
I don't think it's a real advantage, but these kids had the chance to play some games, which is different from Quebec, because they played at least like maybe, depending what league, between 20, 25 games up to close to 35 in certain area. So we always know that playing some games is always better than simply practice, for example.
Oui, exactement. Donc, ce qu'on dit au fond, oui, c'est bien de pouvoir jouer, mais le développement peut se faire autrement qu'en jouant. Donc, on va bien entendu suivre ça tout au long de la soirée. Pierre, ce sera un plaisir pour moi de partager ce plateau avec toi ce soir, découvrir les meilleurs espoirs du repêchage. Alors, bonne séance de sélection à toi.
Merci. Merci, Michael.
Voici le véhicule parfait pour la grande vie de famille. Pour tout ce que vous aimez dans la vie, il y a le véhicule infiniment évolutif. Voici la Kia Carnival.
And welcome back to Moncton. Tim Roszell with you, still waiting for Commissioner Gilles Courteau of the QMJHL to deliver his draft opening address. And while we are waiting for the Commissioner, let's take a look at those trades that the Moncton Wildcats made this week. The Wildcats made 4 deals in all, 2 of them with the Blainville-Boisbriand Armada. All these deals were confirmed on Wednesday. The first deal with the Armada was 20-year-old defenseman Samuel Desgrosiers, coming to the Wildcats in exchange for a 2022 third-round pick. Desgrosiers, again, entering his 20-year-old season in 158 career games. He has 11 goals and 49 career points. He's also played in 16 QMJHL playoff games. The Wildcats made another deal with the, with the Armada, acquiring Nick Blagden, along with a second-round pick. That's the 21st overall pick that the Wildcats have, and a third-round pick, number 41 overall in the 2021 QMJHL entry draft. All that in exchange for the first-round pick, 18th overall, acquired from Val d'Or back last season. Blagden is a native of St. John. He's 6'1", 205. In 2 seasons with the Armada, he played 50 games and had 2 goals and 4 points. Wildcats also made a trade with Chicoutimi, sending defenseman Sam McKinney, who's now going to be 19 years old, to the Saguenay in exchange for a 2023 fifth-round pick. And the Wildcats added 17-year-old Tyler Guy from the Gatineau Olympique in exchange for Dominic LeBlanc. Guy is a player who's a little bit versatile. He can play forward and defense, and he was an 11th-round pick of the Olympique last year. So those are the 4 deals made by the Wildcats ahead of the 2021 QMJHL entry draft. See now that Commissioner Gilles Courteau is now on the floor at the QMJHL draft coverage. So let's join the Commissioner now.
D'avoir une saison, bien entendu, avec sans leur appui, autant pour supporter la démarche que leur appui financier. Et également de souligner l'excellent travail et la discipline des joueurs tout au long de la saison, d'avoir été pratiquement en confinement pendant une saison de temps avec toutes les embûches qu'on a connues au cours de la saison et l'excellent travail qui a été effectué également par le personnel du bureau du commissaire nous a permis d'avoir cette saison-là et va être bénéfique pour les années à venir.
Vous parlez de bénéfices. Quels sont-ils, ces bénéfices-là, pour vos organisations, pour vos joueurs, pour votre personnel? Bien,
dans un premier temps, on a découvert que les joueurs avaient beaucoup de résilience, beaucoup de discipline. Comme
le commissaire aussi?
Oui, mais écoutez, pour des jeunes de 16 à 20 ans, c'était pas évident. Nos dirigeants d'équipe ont fait un travail extraordinaire de pouvoir être capables de s'assurer de faire respecter tous les protocoles en place. Et à cet effet-là, je pense que ça va être, comme j'ai mentionné, bénéfique. L'expérience que les joueurs ont acquis cette année va leur servir non seulement pour l'an prochain, mais pour les années à venir. Ça va être quelque chose de très bénéfique pour eux. Et ils vont également faire bénéficier les joueurs recrues qui vont se joindre aux différentes équipes pour la saison 2021-2022.
2,055 players will be drafted this weekend in your league. What should they expect for the next maybe 4 or 5 seasons?
I think those players should expect to have a great experience coming to play in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. I think that all of them are going to be surrounded by quality people in each and every team. And, you know, the message I have for them is enjoy your time in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League because it goes so fast. You know, take every opportunity that you can have to improve not only your hockey talent, but, you know, with the fact that you'll be a good student and a good citizen at the end of your junior career.
I said 2,000. Don't worry, it's 200. The Memorial Cup tournament will be back in the league this season. I think you have high expectations for the next season.
Well, before talking about the high expectation, I think that there's going to be a great excitement to have the Memorial Cup tournament in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. After the last 2 years not being able to present the Kia Memorial Cup tournament, it's something that we're very happy in our league, very proud to be able to present this event, even if we don't know as of today what this event will look like. We're talking about number of spectators and the event and all that. You know, everything that surrounded a first-class presentation, but I'm sure that teams who are going to put a bid forward to get the Memorial Cup tournament will do a first-class show.
Ce que je retiens, au fond, on se croise les doigts pour revoir ce tournoi de la Coupe Mémorial dans la forme la plus près de ce qu'on a connu parce que c'est un super beau tournoi. Monsieur Courteau, juste en termes de conclusion, on se souhaite quoi ce soir? Des beaux moments de famille, des belles récompenses. Les jeunes, je pense, doivent savourer le moment ce soir.
Il faut qu'ils savourent le moment ce soir parce que c'est une opportunité extraordinaire qu'ils ont d'être sélectionnés dans la Ligue junior majeure du Québec. Quelque peu spécial de l'être en première ronde, qu'ils profitent de ce moment-là quand l'entraînement vont arriver relativement vite à la mi-août prochain pour débuter notre prochaine saison la première semaine d'octobre.
Monsieur Courteau, je vous souhaite une bonne séance de sélection 2021, un bon premier tour ce soir et une bonne conclusion de cette saison 2020-2021.
Merci.
Welcome back to the Moncton Wildcats coverage of the 2021 QMJHL Entry Draft. My name is Tim Roszell. I'm your host here tonight. In just a moment, we're going to catch up with Moncton Wildcats Director of Hockey Operations, Richie Thibault. And Richie is going to talk about those trades that we discussed just a few moments ago, those 4 deals that were confirmed for the Wildcats back on Wednesday. He's going to talk about the players that were involved in those and also some of the assets that the Wildcats acquired during that trade period. And we also discussed the potential of the Wildcats maybe moving up back into round number 1. As I mentioned earlier on, the Wildcats don't have a first-round pick as we sit right now, but they hold the first and third picks in the second round. What will that mean for Moncton and the Wildcats in this draft here tonight? Well, let's catch up with Richie Thibault right now and find out. Well, we are minutes away from the start of the 2021 QMJHL Entry Draft, and it's my pleasure at this time to welcome the Moncton Wildcats Director of Hockey Operations, Richie Thibault, to our broadcast. Richie, thank you so much for taking the time to join us here just before the start of this big event, really the start of the 2021-2022 season. What's the mood like going in right now?
Hey, Tim, how you doing? The mood is, there's a lot of excitement. You know, our scouts have worked through a very difficult year preparing for today, and this is their day. And as a group, you know, we're all very excited to move this forward and select the best players possible.
This is the second year in a row for a virtual QMJHL draft, of course, because of COVID-19. So what has it been like preparing once again for the online draft instead of the more traditional, in-arena setup with all the tables and all the walking around and some in-person chatter rather than, dealing with it on the phones? What's it been like preparing again this year for the virtual draft?
Yeah, like you said last year, you know, we got used to doing a lot of video interviews with all the potential players, and we've done the same thing this year. The thing that was quite different is a lot of players didn't play a lot of games this year, so we had to do a lot of video scouting on games that we could find from previous years or any games they might have played early in the year or any practices, because most of the time we weren't allowed into rinks. So we've had a lot of video scouting this year over and above our video interviews. So it provided a challenge, but every team had the same challenge, and our guys worked hard at it, watched a lot of video, did their analysis, and did a great job with the challenges that we had to deal with.
Well, the QMJHL opened up a trade period on Wednesday, and the Wildcats confirmed some trades earlier this week, 4 of them in all. And I'd like to talk a little bit about some of the new players that you've acquired. And we'll start with the moves that you made with the Blainville-Boisbriand Armada. You traded the Wildcats' first-round pick at number 18 overall to the Armada, and you got 3 assets back, including a second-round pick, a third-rounder, and forward Nick Blagden. Can you tell us a little bit about Nick?
Yeah, for sure. You know, Nick is a big, strong kid who competes very hard, right winger. He's a kid that we liked in his draft year when he played with St. John. He's a kid that, you know, every time we played or we watched Boisbriand, he's a kid that stood out. He's a kid that's a great leader. We think he'll really make a difference and help our young players both on the ice and off the ice because, you know, he brings a little bit more respect to our lineup and we really like what he can bring to help us win games.
So that was one of the deals you made with the Armada. You made another one, though, in adding a 20-year-old defenseman, Samuel Desgrosiers. Can you tell us about Sam?
Yeah, you know, we had a great leader on our D-corps that we lost to is aging out, is Tristan DeJean. And Sam will bring a lot of what Tristan, you know, we lost with Tristan. You know, he's an experienced defenseman. He's a team-first guy. He's a high-character kid. He's a very good skater with great puck skills. And he's a kid that will be able to play in many different situations, and our coaches will love to have him as part of our D-corps, and he will help our young kids and stabilize our defense. So we're extremely happy to make him part of our program.
And how important is it to have a guy like Sam back there? If we look at the second half of this past season, as you mentioned, Tristan DeJong was the graybeard back there, the veteran, among many players that were in their first year in the QMJHL or very much inexperienced in the Q. So how important is it to, even with those guys getting a little bit of experience now, how important is it to have a veteran like a Sam Desgrosiers back there, to help that out?
Yeah, you know, we sometimes forget that, you know, although last year is, you know, a full year from a hockey perspective, it's really half a year. We have a number of defensemen that were rookies last year. You know, Thomas Darcy joined us in the end of the year. Pilat was half a year. Iasenza, Olsen came in from Ontario as a free agent. So we have a lot of kids that have only played 30 games in the years in the league. So it was important for us to get that veteran experience to come and help those kids because, you know, they're almost still rookies because they haven't played a full season yet in the league.
One of the other trades that you made in which you acquired a player was a 1-for-1 with the Gatineau Olympique. You added 17-year-old forward Tyler Guy. Can you tell us about Tyler?
Yeah, Tyler's, you know, he's a player that may need some time, but he's a player that can play forward and D. He's a very good skater. He's got puck skills. And a part of that trade, you know, Dom has been very good for us. He's been a local guy that we drafted and we liked. But we've seen with the makeup of our team moving forward that it was going to be difficult to find Dom the right seat in our lineup. So it was an opportunity that we had to get younger and get a player that's a year younger. And we decided to do it.
So just as we wrap up that part of the discussion, how do you feel about that trade period and about what you were able to do? What do you think you've been able to bring to the lineup through, to this point?
Yeah, you know, through the trade period, what we were hoping to accomplish, and we think we did a really good job at it, was, you know, we wanted to get our team better for the short term without sacrificing the future. And, you know, and we've done that. And actually, we've acquired some picks. You know, we moved down from 18 to 21 and acquired an extra pick and a player. We feel with this draft, you know, moving down 3 spots is not a major move. And there's a good chance that the same player that we were going to get at 18, we can still get at 21 and get some extra assets for the future and for now. So we think it's a combination of making us better in the short term and improving our future. We've done both.
Yes, as we sit right now, the Moncton Wildcats do not hold a first-round pick in the 2021 QMJHL entry draft. Your first pick right now is that first pick in round number 2, which is 21st overall. You also have the 23rd overall pick. there was some discussion, including an article in the Acadie Nouvelle newspaper earlier this week, that you might be looking to move up, Richie, and get back into that first round. Can you tease us a little with how those discussions are going?
Yeah, I can tell you, that we've had a number of discussions with a number of teams in the first round around what it would take for us to move back into the first round. Right now, there's nothing close, but those discussions are continuing. And I can tell you, I think this is one of those drafts that during the first round, those discussions will start to heat up one way or the other. And as we get to 10, 11, and into 15 and so on, I think there'll be more and more discussions and opportunities to move up. And, if the right opportunity presents itself, we'll look at it. But again, we don't want to sacrifice, the work we've done to date in acquiring extra picks. And so if it makes sense, we'll look at it. But there's nothing imminent at this point.
Just as we wrap up here, Richie, and again, I really appreciate you taking the time to join us here just before the draft begins. But what are you kind of looking for going into this? The Wildcats are in a rebuild, a lot of young players on the team right now, and more coming for sure. But what's your sort of outlook for this draft? What are you trying to bring into the organization?
We'll draft a balance of positions. We'll see as the draft moves along, how we're going to do that. But I could tell you in our first few picks, we'll draft the best player available. We've got some very good young players at all positions right now, but you never have enough. And there's some kids available in this draft that some might be ready to play this year and some might be ready to play in 2 years. So we'll see. But, we feel very confident with the picks that we do have, that we're going to be able to add some very good players to our organization that will help us either in the short term or midterm. So we're really excited with the position we're in today. And when we look at our lists and the draft picks we have, we're sure that we'll be able to get some players that will contribute and become Moncton Wildcats for sure.
Well, Richie, congratulations to you, to your head scout, Alex Gauthier, and the rest of the Wildcats scouting staff and management staff for negotiating your way through another difficult, challenging year in terms of scouting and getting ready for this big event here today, the 2021 QMJHL Entry Draft. Thank you so much for your time. Good luck tonight, and I'm sure we'll be speaking again as this evening rolls along. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim.
And my thanks once again to Moncton Wildcats Director of Hockey Operations, Richie Thibault, for joining us just prior to the start of round one of the 2021 QMJHL Entry Draft. First pick is scheduled to be made at 8:10 Atlantic time. That is roughly 14 minutes away from now, and we will bring that to you live when that time comes. Just before we go there, though, we are going to take a look at a couple of things, and one of them is the picks that the Wildcats have in the hopper right now. Where are the Wildcats scheduled to pick as we get ready for tonight's first round? Well, we do know that as of right now, the Wildcats do not have a first round pick in the QMJHL Entry Draft. However, they do have picks at number 1 and number 3 in the second round. That's number 21 and 23. I know you're thinking there are only 18 teams in the QMJHL. How are there 20 picks in the first round? Well, the QMJHL awards compensatory picks to organizations who have players that do not sign with their teams the following year. So there were 2 players in the first round that did not sign. Their rights have been renounced, and those players have gone back into the draft. And because of that, there have been 2 additional first-round picks added to the QMJHL Entry Draft this year. So that's why there are 20 picks in round number 1. And actually, the Wildcats benefit from that as well in the second round with that 23rd overall pick that you just saw there a moment ago. That is because the Wildcats did not sign Ryan Hopkins, who was selected at number 23 1 year ago. So the Wildcats have added that 23rd overall pick, which this year is 3rd in the second round of the QMJHL Entry Draft, and that will take place rounds 2 through 14 tomorrow, starting at 10 o'clock Atlantic time. But let's take a look at the rest of the picks that the Wildcats do have They have pick number 21. That is Baie-Comeau's second-round pick, and it was acquired in that trade on Wednesday with the Blainville-Boisbriand Armada that saw Nick Blagden. And the third-round pick, number 41 overall, come to the Wildcats as well. All those assets brought in exchange for the first-round pick, 18th overall, that the Wildcats had previously acquired from the Val-d'Or Foreur. The Wildcats do have those picks in the second round, numbers 21 and 23. They have that 41st overall pick in round 3. Most of the rest of the selections that the Wildcats have are where they should be. If you'll notice, they're all, or the majority of them anyway, are 18 picks apart. So 62 plus 18 would give you 80. That moves you into round number 5 and so on. The Wildcats do have an extra 10th round pick this year. That is the 173rd overall pick. That was acquired last year just before the start of the season in the trade that sent Sam Dow, the defenseman, to the St. John Sea Dogs. So the Wildcats have an extra 10th round pick this year. And kind of quirky note as well, the Wildcats had traded their 4th and 5th round picks this year in trades last year to acquire Gabriel Fortier and Jared McIsaac. But as those trades continued to unfold, the Wildcats reacquired those picks. So they do have their own picks in rounds 4 and 5. Well, we do have a few more minutes before we get to that number 1 overall pick here in the 2021 QMJHL entry draft. If you have a moment, join in on our live chat. Send along a question, maybe send us a message and tell us where you're watching from tonight. We would love to hear from you, and you may hear your name announced here as we continue throughout the night. So join in on that live chat. Tell us what you think of what you're seeing so far. If you have a question or a comment, by all means, leave it on there as well, and we'll try to get to some as we move along here tonight. But as we get ready for that first overall pick coming up in what is now about 11 minutes' time, we're going to check out what's happening with our friends over at Eastlink TV over in Nova Scotia and PEI. Let's head there live now to join Kenzie Lalonde and Mavs Gillis.
She played with men's hockey and then for a bit, and just enjoyed watching her play and her style of game.
Yeah, she was the first female, I believe, to play in the Western Hockey League. Now you've got the Ontario Hockey League territory. But also, we kind of talked about lots of buzz. You've, been doing a lot of interviews. But one that I'm sure might have been a little extra special for you was to be a part of that Hockey Night in Canada broadcast with Ron MacLean. Was that pretty kind of surreal for you to speak with him?
Yeah, that was honestly one of my best experiences in my life. He was just so chill and relaxed. Our family was actually voting that day, and it was about half an hour before. They're like, "You're going on with Ron MacLean." And I was like, "What? I'm not even ready for this." And so he was doing his makeup, and I'm like, "Okay, I don't really have much makeup on here, but let's go." And so, yeah, it was just a good experience.
Amazing. It must be so fun to enjoy this moment. But as you do look on to the future, you got a few options for what, the next couple years will look like for you before you graduate high school. I mean, NCAA, will that be maybe an area for you? Or right now you're just, taking it day by day and, enjoying this moment of a chance to play in the Ontario Hockey League?
Yeah, I definitely have to make some decisions in the near future. I'm going to go to camp with Sarnia and see how that goes from there. And if I enjoy it, hopefully I can make the team. But if I don't, I can obviously go play with the girls and see how that goes in my career.
Well, Taya, hey, congratulations. Enjoy this. It just must be so fun to see where you're at now and where you'll be. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Team Canada jersey on you one day.
That'd be pretty special. Thank you.
What an incredible young talent, Mavs. So we have the Western Hockey League covered. We have the OHL covered. Maybe we'll see a female in the Quebec Major Junior League sometime soon. Lisa Mumberket's one of those names that has come up before.
Well, yeah, 15 games in Bantam with Truro and 3 shutouts for her. So maybe a name to keep on the radar for female hockey in the province. And when we talk shutouts, we go back to the Quebec League. Charlottetown had a boatload of them from Colton Ellis this year, and we go into our analysts. We're going to go through the teams, the 6 teams in the Maritimes. We're going to start off with the Islanders, and Dave, Xavier Simoneau. That is okay. That's like a first-round draft pick falling to the Islanders here. That is their first-round pick right there. Instant impact for Charlottetown. What do you see with them today?
Absolutely, right? This is a team that's been on the doorstep of a championship the last few seasons. Jim Holton's a fantastic coach, runs a great program, and he gets his players to buy into his system. And he wants to take another run at this President's Cup, and Simoneau is just a great piece to add to that puzzle. But like you say, right, goaltending is something that they're going to need to address. Are they going to address it this weekend in the draft? We'll see. Maybe they'll wait. There's talks they might look at the import draft. And their 20 situation is an interesting one. You know, you got Budgel and Lowen freed up, but, you know, it begs the question as to what's going to happen with Bailey Peach. Could he end his junior career in Halifax? Who knows? But again, you got a rock-solid guy in Lucas Cormier on the point. So this team is in good shape to take another run.
Oh, they certainly are. And again, we will have Jim Holton coming up later in the draft. Kenzie, I believe, do we have time to talk about the, we don't? Oh, actually we don't, because Gilles Courteau's going to the podium. Let's not hold him up anymore. Let's go to our first live shots from Quebec right now as we take in, there he is, Commissioner of the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. Well, that's Cedric Desrousseaux, and that is the commissioner right now.
Bienvenue à nos futurs joueurs et à leurs familles, à nos amateurs, équipes, partenaires d'affaires, médias et à nos circuits de développement à la séance de sélection 2021 présentée par FenPlace. Welcome to our future players and their families, to our teams, corporate partners, media and hockey development branches, to the 2021 QMJHL Entry Draft presented by FenPlace. À la suite d'une saison difficile remplie de défis surmontés grâce à l'engagement de nos équipes et leurs propriétaires, nous nous tournons vers l'avenir et elle commence par ce nouveau groupe de joueurs d'exception. Je souhaite la bienvenue à tous les nouveaux joueurs qui feront leur entrée au sein des LSJMQ au cours des prochaines heures. Félicitations à vous tous et merci à vos parents et ou vos proches de vous avoir épaulés pendant tout votre cheminement vers le hockey junior majeur. Following a season filled with challenges which were ultimately conquered, thanks to the commitment of our owners and their staff, we can finally look towards the future with a whole new group of talented players. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome you to the league. Congratulations to you and especially to all you hockey parents out there for supporting them throughout their journey to accomplish their goal of playing major junior hockey.
Well, I guess there's the organ to set things up with the clock, but we've got to talk about some of these Maritime teams still.
Let's start with Acadie Bathurst Titans. Hendrix Lapierre going 22nd overall in the NHL draft to the Washington Capitals. Mads, you spoke about impact player with Simoneau. This guy is one of those guys as well. Craig, what can we expect from Acadie Bathurst? What will they be looking for in this draft? They do just have one pick right now.
Well, there's some speculation that they might potentially move that pick, but who knows at this point. But when you land Hendrix Lapierre, you're landing a top elite level forward that can really play both sides. So it's a depth move for them. It's an elite move, and it just indicates that they're going all in. And we've seen that before, you know, in 2017. But look for them to potentially add a right shot D-man as well.
And one of the things to talk about with Acadie Bathurst, and just as we go through the draft, Chad Arsenault was drafted in the 12th round, and he made himself on the all-rookie team this year. So kids, remember, it doesn't matter where you're drafted. It's matter what you do in the league. So just keep that in mind for you kids that are going tomorrow. Let's talk, Dave, about the Halifax Mooseheads. A couple guys leaving on their D. They've got picks 5 and 6. They haven't made a move in a calendar year. What do you see with Halifax?
Well, they've got a fantastic young core to build around. You know, take everything with a grain of salt. We only saw these kids play in a small section, only against a couple of teams. But, you know, the Mooseheads really had to be happy with the development of Vidicek, Orr, Swan, Myron, and the list goes on. Furlong, Cam Wynot took a step forward. So they've got a fantastic young core. They're sitting very pretty in that 5-6 spot. And unless something happens where they package a deal and move up in the draft, maybe to take Petal, who knows? But if they stick in that 5-6 spot, I really see them maybe trying to add a top 9 forward, a forward who can probably slot into their top 9 to start the season. And I also...
Welcome back to the Moncton Wildcats coverage of the 2021 first round of the QMJHL entry draft. This is Tim Roszell with you. In just a moment, we're going to take you live to the commissioner of the QMJHL and the first overall pick in the QMJHL entry draft. I want to remind you as well, though, we are going to have some special guests throughout the night, so stay tuned throughout the evening for all of the coverage of this 2021 first round of the QMJHL entry draft. Let's go to Quebec City for the first overall pick.
Surtout à l'aube de notre 10e saison, qui s'annonce remplie de surprises. The Phoenix is honored to speak in the very first tonight, especially with our 10th anniversary around the corner, which promised to be filled with great surprise. Sans plus attendre, je cède la parole à M. Alain Préfontaine, recruteur en chef du Phoenix de Sherbrooke, pour présenter notre sélection. Without further ado, I will turn it over to M. Alain Provencher, our Chief Scout, to present our selection. Merci.
Des électrolytes pour aider à remplacer ce que tu perds quand tu transpires. Des glucides pour aider à réalimenter tes muscles actifs. Et des fluides pour aider ton hydratation. Réhydrater, remplacer, réalimenter. Conçu scientifiquement pour que tu te donnes à fond. Gatorade.
Le Phoenix de Sherbrooke est très fier de sélectionner the Sherbrooke Phoenix is proud to the select des cantonniers de Magog, Ethan Gauthier.
Le prochain choix appartient à Next Pick belongs to les Wildcats de Drummondville.
So there you have it, folks. The consensus number 1 overall pick, Ethan Gauthier, does indeed go first overall in the 2021 QMJHL entry draft to the Sherbrooke Phoenix. Ethan Gauthier, the surname Gauthier, certainly a familiar one in the QMJHL, and this guy's bloodlines for hockey run very deep. His father, Denny Gauthier, of course, longtime NHL player, played as well in the American Hockey League in St. John back in the old AHL days. And Denny Gauthier, while he was playing for the Phoenix Coyotes, that was where Ethan was born. Ethan was born in Arizona. but has played his minor hockey throughout Quebec. He was supposed to play last year under Félix Potvin with the Magog Cantonnier of the Quebec Midget AAA Hockey League, but of course, COVID-19 scrubbed that. His last full season of hockey was 2 years ago, playing in Bantam hockey, and that season for the Bois-Franc Cascade, a Bantam AAA team, he had 13 goals and 40 points in just 23 games. This is a young man who's got high offensive skill and a guy who's very highly regarded. And again, he was the consensus #1 overall pick in the QMJHL entry draft this year. So no big shock that he goes first overall in 2021. And as you heard the commissioner mention just before we came back on, the Drummondville Voltigeurs are on the clock now with pick #2. So in just a moment, we'll go back to our live coverage of the 2021 QMJHL entry draft round 1. But before we do, just want to say a couple of quick hellos. Hi to Randy Dobson watching on our YouTube feed tonight. Also to the Wildcats #1 fan, Brent DeBorn. Thank you for tuning in, Brent, as you often do. And also Michael Dorian and Mary tuning in Dieppe tonight. And Ken Shea watching on YouTube as well. Don't forget, you can join in on the fun. Make sure that you comment on our live broadcast here tonight, the live chat feature. Get in on that with a question or a comment. Tell us where you're watching tonight as well. We would love to hear from you. And in just a moment, we're going to head back to see pick #2 in round 1 of the 2021 QMJHL entry draft.
On est sur la bonne lancée avec notre premier choix.
Maintenant, one question in English, Stefan, is competitive, is proud, is a hard worker. What impressed you the most of him?
When we meet Ethan, I think his discipline, his character, the way he works, his work ethic, and he's coming from a family who's been very professional. Denis is a hockey player, his brother played in the league, so all that together makes him, I think he's going to be a very good player in our league, in our organization. I think he fits perfectly, and his character, and our team identity, so he's going to fit perfectly with us.
The background, the family background it's important. We saw it with the Poulin family.
Oh yeah, it's quite similar with Sam and Pat. Denis, I think he show a lot of character when he plays, and he. Of course, his son, both sons, show a lot of character on the ice. So it's not very often you see that, and kids are 15 years old. So I think we're very proud to have him today.
On est très, très fiers, justement, du côté de Sherbrooke d'avoir cette sélection-là. Peut-être en terminant, Stéphane, si tu avais l'occasion, parce que je sais que les partisans de Sherbrooke vous regardent ce soir. On a l'occasion d'ailleurs d'être ici pour la séance de sélection. Qu'est-ce que tu aurais le goût de leur dire aux partisans qui, sans doute, là, on se croise les doigts, mais ils vont revenir dans les amphithéâtres de la Ligue de hockey junior majeur du Québec à l'automne? Qu'est-ce que tu aurais le goût de leur dire ce soir?
Bien, honnêtement, on a connu toute une saison il y a 2 ans, puis on a rempli le Palais des Sports à plusieurs reprises. Et puis, on a besoin des supporters. Je pense que les jeunes ont tellement fait de sacrifices dans les derniers mois pour finir la saison. Et puis, je pense qu'on est très fiers d'eux. Puis les partisans étaient derrière nous. Et puis, on les attend vraiment pour la prochaine saison. Puis dans la Ligue au complet aussi, je pense qu'il faut être fier des joueurs qui ont accompli cette année. On remercie les organisations, mais avec tout ce qui s'est passé la dernière année, je pense qu'on mérite d'avoir des partisans dans nos arénas l'année prochaine.
Merci beaucoup, Stéphane. Savoure cette belle soirée-là et la meilleure des chances avec Ethan Gauthier.
Merci, Michael.
Voici le véhicule parfait pour la grande vie de famille. Pour tout ce que vous aimez dans la vie, il y a le véhicule infiniment évolutif. Voici la Kia Carnival.
On a beaucoup parlé de lui. Maintenant, on va aller lui parler. Ethan Gauthier est à mes côtés. Je pense que c'est une belle soirée pour toi. C'est quoi ta première réaction?
Oui, c'est sûr. C'est un honneur pour moi d'être repêché aujourd'hui par le Phoenix de Sherbrooke. C'est un moment que j'attends depuis très longtemps. J'ai eu la chance de le vivre avec mon frère. C'est vraiment un beau moment pour vrai. Puis d'avoir la chance de profiter de ce moment-là avec ma famille, je pense que c'est vraiment quelque chose que j'attendais.
C'est une des organisations qui connaît le plus de succès dans les dernières années. Tu t'as joint à une équipe de grande qualité, là.
Oui, c'est sûr. On a vu ce qu'ils ont fait il y a 2 ans avec les Poulains, les Frères Anctil, les Tardier, tout ça. Je pense qu'ils ont connu beaucoup de succès, on a pu le voir. Je pense qu'ils ont une équipe. Je pense que j'ai confiance en leur succès qu'ils ont connu. J'ai confiance d'arriver dans l'équipe et de pouvoir aider l'équipe à ma manière à remporter un championnat. Là.
Comment as-tu vécu la journée? On sait que c'est une grosse journée. Là maintenant, c'est fait, mais comment tu as vécu la journée jusqu'à maintenant?
Ouais, c'est sûr que depuis que je me suis levé un matin, je pense que j'attends ce moment-là. J'étais à l'entraînement, puis je commençais déjà à être fébrile. J'avais vraiment hâte de partir de chez nous, à venir rencontrer justement l'équipe. Puis tout ça, je suis vraiment content. C'est vraiment une belle journée.
On connaît ta famille. Qui était le plus nerveux dans la famille? C'était-tu toi?
Probablement moi, puis je dirais maman aussi. Je pense que la nervosité était présente, mais c'est ça, c'est vraiment un beau moment. Je suis vraiment content de pouvoir partager ce moment-là avec les autres.
Maybe one more question in English. It's emotional for you and all your family.
Yeah, for sure. It's been a moment that we've been waiting for since a long time. So I think living this moment with my family, it's something really special that I really wanted to have the chance to do. I had the chance to see my brother getting drafted in Shawinigan a couple years ago. So it's really a nice moment.
C'est une vraie famille de hockey, les Gauthier. Merci beaucoup, Ethan. Félicitations. Premier choix au total du Phoenix de Sherbrooke.
Merci beaucoup.
Welcome back to Moncton. This is Tim Roszell with you with the Moncton Wildcats coverage of the first round of the 2021 QMJHL entry draft. As you just saw a moment ago, Ethan Gauthier is the first overall pick in the 2021 QMJHL entry draft, going to the Sherbrooke Phoenix. And it will be interesting to watch his development throughout the course of the season. Well, the Drummondville Voltigeurs hold the second overall pick in the QMJHL entry draft. This was a pick that was acquired from the Cape Breton Eagles. And interesting in that as much as Ethan Gauthier was the consensus #1 overall pick, many people feel as though Tyler Peddle, the Nova Scotia product, is the consensus #2 selection in the QMJHL entry draft. Now, potential issue with Tyler Peddle is that he has not committed to the QMJHL as of yet. The NCAA option is there for him, but the Nova Scotia player is expected to be picked very highly in the QMJHL entry draft. Let's go take a look at pick #2 in the QMJHL entry draft 2021.
Le prochain choix appartient à next selection belongs to le Drakkar de Bécomo.
Well, there you have it. Second overall pick in the QMJHL entry draft here in 2021. Tyler Peddle, the native of Antigonish, Nova Scotia. Tyler's father, Brad, is the head coach at St. Francis Xavier University. He'll be coaching Jacob Hudson, the former Wildcats captain there, among other players this season. But as I mentioned just before the pick became official, Tyler Peddle has not committed to the QMJHL as of yet. So certainly some risk involved there on the part of the Voltigeurs, but Drummondville came into the draft tonight with 3 first-round picks in the 2021 QMJHL entry draft, so they obviously feel pretty strongly that Tyler Peddle was worth the risk. There had been some speculation that Halifax, with those 5 and 6 picks, and also even Cape Breton down at #8, if Peddle had slipped down to either of those organizations, that maybe he would have ended up there. Instead, he goes to Drummondville at #2. And just to give you a quick number here, for some statistics for Tyler Peddle. He played last year at Shattuck St. Mary's in their under-16 program. That's a U.S. prep school, development school, if you will. 46 points, including 31 goals in 47 games last year. Well, as I mentioned earlier on, we do have some special guests joining us throughout this evening as part of our 2021 first-round coverage of the QMJHL entry draft. Let's take a peek now at my conversation with Moncton Wildcats goaltender Vincent Filion. You all set, Vincent? Well, we have another special guest joining us here on our 2021 Moncton Wildcats QMJHL Draft first-round coverage. It's Moncton Wildcats goaltender Vincent Filion. Vinny, how you doing, man?
Good, you?
Very good. Good to see you. So you're coming off of your first season with the Moncton Wildcats. Of course, you were acquired from Val-d'Or during the trade period and played the second half of the year with Moncton. Tell me about your season with the Wildcats. How do you think it went?
I very loved it. Yeah, it's been a first season in the QMJHL, and I love every moment of it. Yeah, it was only the second part of the season, but I think we played a lot of games and really had a great group. And yeah, I mean, it was a really great time, and I can't wait to be back at the Avenir Center.
Yeah, you mentioned it was only the second half of the year, and you didn't play in the first half of the season because of COVID-19 and the challenges that that Quebec was having with the pandemic at the time. So, how difficult was it for you to join the Wildcats and then get into kind of game shape for when the schedule began again in March?
Yeah, it's been a year and 2 weeks before my first game without playing. So it's been a long time, but I was focusing on my training and preparation to be ready as much as I can for my first game. And with the trade, for me, I was very happy because first, right now I'm in the QMJHL, so it was a big step, and also I got games to play, so yeah, it was a big plus, and I really loved it.
You mentioned it was a big step to come to the QMJHL. What were the differences that you noticed, or what did you notice about the QMJHL that made it a big step, that made it a challenge for you?
Yeah, I think that the game is quicker, and you gotta check where the guys are to be sure if they pass it or they can shoot. So you always you have to always to be ready, and also you have to be quick to stop the puck. But with the when I arrived, we were in the red zone. So with the practice before, I think it really helped me to adjust my game to the Q level, and that's what I was ready when it started.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was going to ask you, was there a moment, whether it was during those practices or in one of the 6 regular season games you were in, or in the playoff game, was there a moment throughout all of that where you finally felt like, you know what, yeah, I deserve to be here, I belong, and I can compete and I can be successful at this level? Was there a moment like that for you?
Yeah. With the practice at first, it really helped me to get my game to the Q level. But after couple games, I really feel like I belong to this league, and I want to play as much as I can. And I love to be between the pipes. That's what I want to do. So yeah, I'm more confident, and yeah, if I could, I would like to play more often as possible.
So, what are you going to do over the summertime to keep yourself in shape and get yourself ready for when camp opens in the fall and when you have a chance to come in potentially as the starting goaltender?
Yeah, I focus on my off-ice training at the gym, and I'm trying to get some time on the ice to stay in shape and to be very ready for training camp, and hopefully to start the season with a lot of games.
Now, I know a lot of guys in the off season they'll get a group of other Quebec leaguers together and get some ice and that type of thing to, as you say, try and stay in shape and get ready. Is that what you're going to do? Are you going to try and get a group together to get out on the ice and face a few shots and just sort of try and stay in the rhythm as best you can?
Yeah, like this year with the pandemic, the ice is not very easy to find and to be many guys at the same time, but that's what we're trying to do. A couple of guys of Quebec to we live near. We're trying to make some games or some practice together. Yeah, I mean, it's part of the training, and everyone from the region is here, and we love it.
Just as we wrap up here, Vinny, want to ask you about next season. How important were the games that you played this year, 7 of them in all with the Wildcats, including that playoff game? How important are those games going to be when you're looking ahead to what will be your first full season in the QMJHL?
I think they were very important for me first. I think in these games I gained a lot of confidence, and I know I can play in this league, and that's what I want to. So yeah, I mean, it's not I played 7 games last year and it's done and we're moving on the next. Yes, it's a new season, but I think these games were very important to me, and I'll be very ready for when it starts.
Well, Vincent, we all look forward to seeing you back in training camp when camp begins this fall ahead of the 2021-2022 QMJHL season. Have a great summer. Stay healthy and happy, and we'll see you in a few months.
Yeah, thank you. I see you.
Well, that was Moncton Wildcats goaltender Vincent Filion. He was the 6th overall pick in the 2020 QMJHL entry draft by the Val-d'Or Four, and of course came over to the Wildcats in that Jordan Spence trade back during the holiday trade period last year. And Vincent Filion figures to be a big part of the Moncton Wildcats club this season and beyond. It was certainly good to catch up with him ahead of tonight's 2021 QMJHL entry draft round 1. We have another pick that has been made, this time by the Bécamo Drakkar. They have selected 6'2.5", 185-pound center iceman Vincent Collard. Collard is from Chicoutimi. He was supposed to play last year with Jonquière in the Quebec Midget AAA Hockey League. Did not do that, of course, because of the pandemic. But 2 years ago in Bantam AAA, he had 11 goals and 26 points in 24 games. He also had 4 assists in 5 games in the Quebec Midget Espoir League. That is the lower league for the midget players in the province of Quebec. Now, so that was with the number 3 overall pick to the Bécamo Drakkar. The Rimouski Oceanic are on the clock now. They entered the draft here tonight with 4 picks in the QMJHL entry draft, and they have made their selection. Let's go there now.
prochain choix appartient à. The next selection belongs to Halifax Moosehead.
And welcome back to Moncton. Tim Roszell with you, providing coverage of the Moncton Wildcats 2021 QMJHL Entry Draft first round. We have seen 3 picks so far. Make that 4 actually now, with Luke Coughlin of the Charlottetown Knights under-18 team going number 4 overall to the Rimouski Oceanic. Played 8 games last year in the regular season, had 9 assists, added 3 goals and 6 points in 4 playoff games. He's a defenseman, a smaller one at 5'9", 175, but certainly a player who's highly touted. He was ranked 6th on the final QMJHL Central Scouting list heading into this first round of the 2021 QMJHL Entry Draft. So Luke Coughlin goes at number 4 to the Rimouski Oceanic. Well, we've got an interesting wrinkle in this draft here now, as the Halifax Mooseheads are on the clock for not 1, but 2 picks. They hold the 5th and 6th overall selections in the 2021 QMJHL Entry Draft. And we've seen the Moose pick very well, highly in the draft before. They got Jonathan Drouin, remember, at number 2 way back when, and they've had other high picks that have turned out well as well. So it'll be interesting to see what the Mooseheads do. These are, at least at the moment, their only 2 picks of round number 1. I say they're only 2. They've got 2, so they're in pretty good shape there. But the Mooseheads have number 5, and they're on the clock with that pick right now. And they also have number 6. Just before we get to that selection, I want to remind you that the Wildcats had some interactive games on their app. Thank you so much to fans who participated in those interactive games on the Moncton Wildcats app. Make sure you tune in tomorrow before the start of round number 2, as we'll have some more fun on the Wildcats app ahead of rounds 2 through 14 tomorrow as this 2021 QMJHL Entry Draft continues. And if you don't have the Wildcats app, you can download it from your favorite app provider. And while we have another moment here, I want to say hi to Tony Thibault. That's Richie Thibault, the Wildcats Director of Hockey Operations. That's his father, watching tonight in Cape Breton. Always nice to hear from Tony. Tony, thank you for sending us that note. Eugene Fougier in Riverview, Elijah Boudreau in Moncton watching as well. And the Wildcats public address announcer, if you've been in the building, you know the voice, JR, Jean Richard, watching tonight as well. Thank you so much for your kind words, JR, and good to hear from you. If you want to let us know where you're listening from or watching from tonight, just join in on the live chat feature on our coverage here tonight. My name is Tim Roszell. I'm the voice of the Moncton Wildcats. You're watching live coverage of the Moncton Wildcats 2021 QMJHL Entry Draft. Wildcats at the moment do not have a pick in round number 1, but we will see if that changes over the course of time. The Halifax Mooseheads are on the clock right now with pick number 5. They also hold the 6th pick in the 2021 QMJHL Entry Draft. We will see what they come up with. Throughout this evening, we are going to have special guests on our broadcast. We've already heard from Vincent Filion. We have more guests coming, including a chat with the Wildcats head coach, Dan Lacroix. That's going to come up a little bit later on here tonight. But right now, it's the Halifax Mooseheads on the clock at pick number 5. Let's go back to live coverage of the 2021 QMJHL Entry Draft.
S'il vous plaît, procédez à votre sélection. Please make your selection.
The Halifax Mooseheads are pleased to select from the Moncton Flyers, Dylan McKinnon.
prochain choix, the next selection belongs to Halifax Mooseheads.
Welcome back to Moncton. Well, we have seen this before with the Halifax Mooseheads. They have not been shy about taking players from the Moncton area, and they've done that once again, and they do so with that 5th overall selection that was acquired from the Wildcats in the Benoit Olivier Groux deal just a couple of years ago. This time it's Dylan McKinnon, 6'1", 185-pound defenseman, played last year with the Moncton Flyers in the New Brunswick PEI Under-18 Hockey League in 16 regular season games. He had 4 goals and 11 points. In the playoffs, 2 goals, 3 points, and 20 penalty minutes in 8 games. So that will certainly add to what is already an intense rivalry between the Moncton Wildcats and the Halifax Mooseheads, as it's Riverview's Dylan McKinnon who goes number 5 overall to the Halifax Mooseheads. Mooseheads are on the clock with pick number 6 right now as well. And just while we have a moment, want to say a special hello to Eric Simpson watching tonight in Florida. Eric, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it. And we all do here as part of the Moncton Wildcats 2021 QMJHL Entry Draft coverage. Also want to say a very special hello to my lovely wife, Trish, and my son, Emerson, watching tonight in Moncton. So thank you so much for you guys for tuning in as well. Pick number 6 on the clock right now. Once again, it is the Halifax Mooseheads. Mooseheads just selected at number 5 overall and took Dylan McKinnon from the Moncton Flyers. Let's see what they do with that number 6 overall selection.
Personnalité, caractère, ce sont des mots que tu aimes bien en termes de philosophie d'organisation. À quoi doit-on s'attendre pour la suite des choses dans ce repêchage pour toi ce soir?
Nous, on continue là, à suivre notre liste et les joueurs qu'on aime, puis rendu à notre sélection, la prochaine qui sera au 18e rang. C'est sûr qu'on a toujours des besoins particuliers et à ce moment-là, on va pouvoir être, en se rapprochant de notre sélection, on va pouvoir voir les joueurs qui sont toujours sur la liste qui nous intéressent davantage, mais on va y aller avec le meilleur joueur disponible.
Merci beaucoup, Pierre, de t'avoir joint à nous. On va poursuivre la discussion avec Pierre Cholette. Pierre, quelles impressions en ce moment t'habitent avec le déroulement de cette premier tour de séance de sélection? Dylan McKinnon, tu me dis en coulisses, je ne suis pas trop surpris. Qu'est-ce que tu veux ajouter?
Dylan, c'est le genre de défenseur que c'est un gars qui est fort physiquement, joue bien avec la rondelle, un très bon lancer. J'aime pas faire des comparaisons. Disons qu'il y a eu des défenseurs les dernières années qui ont évolué avec le Moosehead, puis ils tombent dans ce genre de défenseurs-là. C'est ça.
Des défenseurs, Pierre, il va y en avoir dans ce repêchage-là. On n'a pas fini d'en voir. On vous a préparé d'ailleurs un tableau des défenseurs qui pourraient être repêchés dans le top 10. On a sorti, Pierre, les 10 dernières années. On le voit que c'est quand même à la mode. L'année passée, il y en avait eu 5 dans le top 10. C'est énorme. C'est une position qui a changé en termes de valorisation pour ce qui est du hockey junior.
Bien, en fait, c'est que le junior a tout simplement suivi ce qui s'est passé dans les niveaux supérieurs. C'est qu'on accorde, sans dire qu'on accorde beaucoup moins, mais l'aspect du gabarit a tellement changé. Donc, l'époque où les défenseurs très habiles, mobiles, avec la rondelle, tout ça, à plus petit gabarit, si on veut, on avait peut-être tendance les années passées à les... sans dire mettre de côté, mais on est un petit peu plus prudent par rapport à ça, alors que c'est plus le cas aujourd'hui. Je regarde comme Luke Coughlin, là, c'est exactement ce genre de défenseur-là.
C'est ça, il y a des défenseurs qui vont se lancer en attaque, il y en a d'autres un petit peu plus stay at home, comme on dit. Y a-t-il un critère qui revient plus dans cette séance-là, en termes de style de défenseur disponible?
Bien, défenseurs très habiles avec la rondelle, des bons patineurs. Il en reste encore des très bons. Là. Je regarde la liste, là, puis il en reste effectivement des très bons.
Bon, bien, c'est ça. Ce sont des très bonnes nouvelles pour les autres formations de la Ligue de hockey junior majeur du Québec. Il y a beaucoup de talent et on va justement poursuivre la séance avec le commissaire Gilles Courteau.
Welcome back. Where we're still waiting for the Halifax Mooseheads to make their selection at number 6 overall. So just understand that they're on the podium right now. Let's head there.
The Halifax Mooseheads are pleased to select from College Charles Lemoyne, Matthew Cadafor.
So after the Mooseheads take defenseman Dylan McKinnon at number 5 overall, they add a centerman in Matthew Cadafor at number 6. Cadafor was expected to play with College Charles Lemoyne in the under-18 Quebec League last year, the Quebec under-18 League, I should say. Obviously did not do so with the pandemic, but 2 years ago in Bantam, 29 points, including 14 goals in just 25 games played. Well, I promised you some more special guests here tonight as we continue our Moncton Wildcats coverage of the first round of the 2021 QMJHL entry draft. Let's say a very special hello in just a moment to Moncton Wildcats legend Brandon Gormley. Well, we're very pleased at this time to welcome a special guest to our, hold on, I'm going to start again. Show. And how you feeling on a night like tonight when you know that there are lots of other young kids like the one that you were just a short time ago getting ready to hear their name called?
Yeah, it's a special time. I still, you think back and there's so many good memories of just kind of the time leading up to that. And the excitement to get drafted. And I mean, I remember going as a kid and watching games in Moncton, and I was actually a Wildcats fan anyway. Being from PEI, they didn't have a team at the time, and Moncton was a short drive away, so we'd come and watch some games. And so yeah, I mean, then leading up to that, I remember obviously having a dream to play in the Quebec League as a kid, and then watching kind of where Moncton was in the standings and kind of tracking them and seeing not really thinking that it would ever happen, but yeah, I mean, there's some great memories of that year leading up to the draft, and then finally getting drafted, and that whole process was just it's just a great day with your family, and it's a great day to kind of celebrate your accomplishments, and but yeah, then the work starts. It's right back to work after that. So lots of good memories, like I said.
Well, wind the clock back for us, and for fans that may not remember, you were playing out in Saskatchewan at the time at the famed Notre Dame school, and you and your teammate at the time, Sean Couturier, were among the top players considered for the QMJHL entry draft. How closely were you watching what was going on in the Q at that time, and were your eyes on the Q the whole time?
No, I wouldn't say they're on the ice the whole time. I think me and Sean, we had a great year out there in Notre Dame, and I mean, it's kind of funny. Yeah, we grew up playing together in spring hockey and summer hockey and stuff like that, and then he came out to Notre Dame my second year there, and like I said, great team, great development school to go to kind of build your game to take it to the next level, and then it was kind of fun going through that whole process together. We were, the rankings were 1 and 2, I guess, the whole year, yeah, it was just kind of fun to have that, camaraderie and kind of building towards the same thing. So, yeah, like I said, lots of good memories from that year, and just to have someone to go through that with, I guess, was kind of cool. And we could kind of talk about what was going on in the Quebec League a little bit, and but yeah, I think he probably followed a little more closely than I did, because he just had, I think his father was like an owner of one of the teams and stuff like that, or part of one of the teams. So yeah, he was a little more in the know. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you just got to focus on your hockey and your game, and trying to just get better each day and build up towards that, because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter where you get drafted or what pick you are or whatever. It's all the same at the end of the day, and you got to go earn your spot like anybody else. So yeah, it was, like I said, it was nice to have him go through that together with him, and be on the same team, and yeah, obviously, the draft day was worked out good for both of us there.
Now, obviously, COVID-19 has prompted the move to a virtual draft in the QMJHL last year and this year. But in your year and in most previous years, it's been just like the NHL draft, where you have the whole arena floor covered in team tables. And in that first round, like when you went first overall, the players who are selected come up to the stage, they get the jersey, they get the cap, they get the picture taken with the owner, the GM, the coach, everybody, all the hoopla surrounding it. It's one of the things I think that the QMJHL has always done extremely well. So take us back to that time when you hear Brandon Gormley called as the number 1 overall pick in 2008. What's going through your mind, and what are you thinking about as you're walking up?
Yeah, it was a huge deal. I remember, and especially as a kid, you're watching the NHL draft, and honestly, it was the same kind of experience, to be honest. I just remember they had, all the lights were dimmed, and they had the spotlight, ended up coming on me as soon as I got picked, and yeah, it was just a great moment with, you have your family and some friends there and stuff. It's just, yeah, like I said, special day, but yeah, it's quite a feeling, walking up there. There was, I don't know, probably 8 to 10 of the Wildcats, coaches and staff and everything like that up on the stage. And yeah, you put the jersey on, put the hat on, and yeah, just like the National League. And yeah, I still, look back on some of those memories. Yeah, it was a great time.
Well, I was just going to say, do you get a little nostalgic this time of year, knowing that the Q draft is usually around the corner, and you've got that next crop of young players that are going to be making their mark and hearing their names called?
For sure, yeah. It's I'm sure a lot of kids were in the exact same position as I was. You watch games in the Quebec League growing up, and those are your hockey heroes, and some of these guys that you get to go watch they play for 4 years, you get to watch them kind of go through, and then on to the NHL, and that's what you want to be one of those guys. And yeah, I just think it's the day is such a, yeah, like I said, celebration of kind of all the hard work that you've put in and into your career so far, and you kind of take that in with your family, and then yeah, then you got to get back to work, because I mean, I think the camps, and I know we had, I don't know if we did summer camps or not in Moncton, but yeah, I know training camp seemed like it was right around the corner, and at 16 there's some big guys in that league, so I remember having that feeling of, okay, it was great experience, great kind of high point in my career at that point. And but now, yeah, I remember it was just kind of time to get back to work, and just excited for training camp and excited to get going.
I do want to ask you about a couple of other things before we wrap up with you, Brandon, but just before we move on from the draft, if you could pick one moment from your draft day experience, whether it was simply hearing your name called or or all of the interviews and the photos and everything else, the time with your family that you got to spend. If you could pick one moment from that day that really stands out as a favorite moment or a best moment for you, what would that be?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I definitely had a lot of great time with, I think, my family and some friends that I had there. And going through it with some of the guys too, like I remember there was a good group of those first round guys that, you end up being really good buddies with, and you kind of go through that whole process and you play against those guys, throughout, obviously in the Quebec League, but even before that. So, but no, I think if I had to pick one moment, I just remember, with that jersey on, and you're getting all the people are taking your picture out front, and you're looking out kind of in the crowd, and it's you see, all the tables, all the people, and, you got kind of your arms around the coaches and stuff, and getting this picture. And I just remember kind of taking that in, and I wanted to kind of, slow that moment down, and, kind of take my time putting on the jersey and putting on the hat, and instead of just, getting in and out off the stage kind of thing, I definitely remember trying to take my time with that, and try to really enjoy that moment. And yeah, I mean, looking back, you're glad you did, because it does go fast. And I felt like I definitely soaked up that experience as best I could.
So, of course, you won a President Cup with the Wildcats in 2010. You won the 2012 Memorial Cup with Shawinigan. Moved on to play in the National Hockey League, and now you've been playing in Europe the last few years as well. Just for fans that may have lost track of you a little bit, bring us up to date on what you've been up to and where you've been playing wise, and also kind of touch a little bit on how COVID has affected your playing career, and just how things have gone.
Yeah, so kind of hard to keep track of, I guess. Once guys leave on, and I mean, I played in North America there in the NHL and American League for I guess 5 years, and then made the jump over to Europe. I played in Sweden for 3 years, and then was in Germany last year. But yeah, I mean, COVID definitely, it's been hard on everybody, and I mean, the hockey business is no different. It's definitely taken its toll on the players and the teams and stuff like that. So yeah, that's been tough to deal with. But like I said, I think in the long run, you just gotta do what you can, and try to stay positive as best we can here. And I think the light at the end of the tunnel is kind of coming for the COVID situation, and hopefully we can just all get back to normal. And I mean, in the whole world, and obviously in the hockey world as well. So, but no, I mean, it's been a good ride since leaving Moncton. I mean, some of my best memories in hockey are still in Moncton. So many good teams, such great guys, and the fans were just unbelievable there. So, no, I sure miss a lot of those people in Moncton.
Well, and I want you to expand on that a little bit, because my last question for you is about the 25th anniversary. The Wildcats have celebrated their 25th anniversary season, and they're going to be marking that with some special activities throughout the course of this coming year. What does it mean to you as a guy, as you alluded to off the top? You were a Wildcats fan growing up. You got to play for the team for 3.5 seasons. You were a captain of the team, and certainly one of their all-time greats. So as a guy that wore the jersey as proudly as you did, and represented the team and the organization as proudly as you did, what does it mean to you to see the franchise mark 25 years in the QMJHL?
Yeah, that's a special feat for sure. From day one that I was a part of Moncton, I think it's been a first-class organization. I remember Robert Irvin making that very clear, and he followed through for sure. Right from the coaches, trainers, the guys, we all knew what to expect and the level that he expected, and I think that goes a long way in how much success they've had and for being in the league for 25 years now and going strong. So they got that beautiful rink there now, and that I'm still looking forward to getting back there and seeing at some point here. And hopefully they can, get that elusive Memorial Cup. I was, obviously disappointed that we couldn't do that when I was there and had a good look at it. But yeah, it's just a first-class organization from top to bottom. And, I was very fortunate to be able to play there for as long as I did. So, it was a great 3.5 years that I look back on, quite a bit and still have a lot of, good relationships with people there.
Well, Brandon, thank you so much for taking the time to join us here on our Moncton Wildcats 2021 QMJHL Entry Draft Round 1 coverage. We really appreciate your time. Congratulations on all your success, continued playing success, and health to you as well. And yes, definitely get to that to the rink in Moncton and check it out as quickly as you can. We can't wait to see you there and to see you back on the ice at Avenir Center for sure. So thanks again, and have a great night.
All right, thanks for having me.
And that is Moncton Wildcats legendary defenseman Brandon Gormley. Very nice to catch up with Brandon as part of the Moncton Wildcats 2021 QMJHL Entry Draft coverage. My name is Tim Roszell. I'm the voice of the Moncton Wildcats, joining you tonight as we continue this first round of the 2021 draft. We are still keeping an eye on whether or not the Wildcats make any moves to get back into the first round of this 2021 QMJHL Entry Draft. There has not been a trade as of yet in round 1, which is a little bit unusual, but of course, why not in what has been an unusual year starting off this brand new season as well with another virtual draft. We'll have to see what comes from the Wildcats and from other teams as well as we continue to move along here tonight. Just before we continue, want to acknowledge a few people. Cameron Penny, who's joining me here as part of our draft coverage here tonight. A lot of these numbers that I'm throwing out and names and things that you're hearing are coming from him. So thank you, Cameron. Also to my producer, Brian Fisher, and to my director tonight, Courtney Hustis. Thank you so much for all the work that both of you have done, all three of you, in fact, to help set up this coverage of the Moncton Wildcats 2021 QMJHL Entry Draft here tonight. So while we were away catching up with Brandon Gormley, we did see a couple more picks made in the QMJHL Entry Draft here in 2021. At 7 overall, the Blainville-Boisbriand Armada took right winger Alexi Bork. And Alexi is a 6'1", 185-pounder from Gatineau. He was scheduled to play last year with the Gatineau L'Intrépide of the Quebec Under-18 League. The league did not play, so he did not play either. In Bantam 2 years ago, though, 27 goals, 41 points in just 25 games. Looks like a pretty good prospect for the Armada. And his father, Kevin, in fact, won a Memorial Cup with Granby way back in 1996. And also, the Cape Breton Eagles have made their first selection in the 2021 QMJHL Entry Draft. They have selected Emile Perron. He is a defenseman, 5'11", 180 pounds, also from the Gatineau area, and he is 16 years old. And he was scheduled to play. In fact, he was scheduled to be the captain of the Gatineau L'Intrépide last year. 2 years ago with the Outaouais Intrepid Bantam AAA team, 7 points in 21 games. So the Cape Breton Eagles have made their first pick in the QMJHL Entry Draft here in 2021. The next pick at the moment belongs to the Shawinigan Cataract, and as I mentioned, we have not seen a trade made yet in round number 1. Of course, first round picks were flying around on Wednesday and before that as moves were made in advance of the draft. But we do often see moves made on the floor, so to speak, whether virtually or in person. And we'll keep an eye out to see whether or not the Wildcats make any moves to get back into round number one, or any other teams jockey for position throughout this first round. So again, we are 8 picks into the 2021 QMJHL entry draft. We'll come back in just a few moments. Right now, I want to send it back to Eastlink TV. Let's join Kenzie Lalonde and Mavs Gillis.
Jonathan Murphy said, this is a team, it's in a little bit of a rebuild. It's going to be young in an 18, 19-year-old league, but they're building for something special. And, I do really feel for the fans here in Cape Breton because, the season which COVID closed everything down, what a team Cape Breton had, and they were getting ready to go on a real long playoff run, possibly a run right to the President's Cup, and then COVID hit and everything was shut down. So now it's almost back to the drawing board. But again, they're putting all the pieces in place right now to build that team. And the Maritimes division is going to be another tough division next year. So again, look for Cape Breton. They're going to have bumps in the road, but again, the puzzle pieces are there. The back end looks to be pretty secure now. So now I think they got to shift their focus to finding some offensive talent, which they'll likely try to address by a trade.
And as we look down the list of that central scouting and check out some of these Atlantic Canadians that are still up for grabs, Bradley Nadeau is one of those strong forwards that is available. Shawinigan could take him easily if they were looking for a player like him. Craig, talk to us about Bradley Nadeau. Where do you see him going? How do you see him fitting in the Quebec Major Junior League?
Well, it's a great question, Kenzie. And for those people here in New Brunswick, obviously the Nadeaus, probably some of the most talented players I've ever seen, hockey sense-wise and skill-wise. Josh, a fifth-round selection by the Acadie Bathurst Teton a couple of years ago, elected and has already signed a commitment. Not signed, but he's going the NCAA route right now for the University of Maine. So right now, Bradley, and you can see potentially Bradley falling in the draft. I'm not sure what direction the family is going to go, but it's undeniable that these kids live and love the game of hockey, and they're tremendously skilled. So a team, an organization might try to take Bradley tonight and try to convince the family and Bradley to go and to report. Right now, all indications, both brothers are going to take the school route as of right now.
We look at Shawinigan being on the clock right now, and Dave, where do you see the Cataracts going here with this pick?
Well, right now, this is a team that they've got an older D-core. A lot of left side defensemen. They might look at shoring up something on their right side. They also might look to target something on the right side up front. They might be a little thin on the right side in an attacking zone. But, they've got an older D-core, a young forward group. They got a pretty balanced attack as it is. Last year, they were able to, they put up a decent record, in 34 games, they went 21-10-2. So they've already got the pieces there they got a good core group together. So, I would look for them to shore up something, particularly on their right side.
And we're going to go to the pick for Shawinigan. Let's see where the Cataracts go and where the Riverbend.
Votre sélection, please make your selection.
Les Cataractes de Shawinigan sont fiers de sélectionner des Estacades de Trois-Rivières, Jordan Tourigny.
Jordan Tourigny, a low center of gravity as a defenseman and joining a big group of veterans with the Cataracts, and they're going to be able to show him the ropes, if you will.
Well, look at that setting in the backyard. Beautiful. And hey, his brother Miguel went 23rd overall, so now he's got a bit of a bragging rights to go 9th in the Quebec Major Junior League. A big, talented guy. Exactly. I mean, the defender will really bring some leadership on the ice, but he might not have the size, but he has the heart, and there's still time to tell if he will continue to grow. Craig, your thoughts on this? Going down a bit of a list to select this player here in Trigny.
Well, we have him rated as at 19, but it's a tremendous pick, and it's a skilled defenseman, really a carbon copy of his brother Miguel. Phenomenal puck mover, and potentially the best skater in the draft. You sat down, you watched this kid skate and move. His mobility just jumps off the page. We talked about his size. He makes up for that. He goes to the dirty areas and he beats players one-on-one with his edge control. Then you move into his puck skills. Tremendous first pass, great mobility on the offensive blue line. This kid has the potential to be a full 3-zone D-man for years to come. This is a great pick, and it's a pick by a very, very skilled group in Shawinigan. They put a lot of time and energy, and they're very, very close right now to making a big push and a strong push to a President's Cup.
Well, before we get to you, Dave, we're going over the Confederation Bridge, joining our friend Jim Holton, the Coach of the Year. And Jim, congratulations on that, first and foremost. About time the league recognized you with that. You made a massive move bringing Xavier Simeon. Take us through that transaction.
Well, first of all, thank you very much. And I think with regards to the move, the obvious need in our club with Roszell and Casey leaving is to replace some of that offense. And who better to fill that void than Xavier Simeon? This is a guy that we've long admired and sought after him for quite a while, and finally got it to fruition.
Goaltending, also another need with Colton Ellis moving on. Is that something that might be solved this evening, or is that something that might be later on that fans can look out for?
Well, I think we're forgetting that Jake Gooby is poised and ready to move to another level of his career. I think if we look back how Matt Welsh progressed in his career, Jake's following the same path. So maybe I'm of the minority here that I don't think our goaltending issue is that dire. So it's definitely not going to be addressed tonight, but it's something that we'll continue to assess to see if we can improve our club.
As you're progressing through the weekend, what are some of the things you are looking to achieve with the club?
Well, I think we'd like to keep adding to our size and our depth. I think what we saw in playoffs, both at our level and we're seeing it now in the National Hockey League, is that size still matters. Big, heavy teams win in the playoffs, and there's certain players that get you there and other players that get you through there. So we're interested in guys that are going to get us through there.
Jim, the 20 situation right now is certainly the biggest question for everyone following the Islanders. What is your take, and what is going to happen with your 3 over H spots?
Well, we have to be a little bit cautious because both Brett Budgell and Noah Lown are guys who could sign pro contracts. So we have to make sure that we safeguard a little bit. However, we're open for business. So if someone wants to make the right offer, then we'll go ahead and make a move.
So the final question I have is, this is our first time chatting with you since the end of the President Cup playoffs. Now that you are out of work isolation and out of confinement, how does it feel to be a free man?
It feels very nice. We ran down Main Street calling freedom the first day we got out. But, I think in particular for our players, I think, it's just you forget how nice it is just to get out and mingle with the public. So I think we're all happy that chapter of the book is closed, and hopefully we never have to reopen it.
Jim, we can't thank you enough for all your time. Best of luck the rest of the weekend.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it very much.
Jim Holton, the head coach, general manager of the Charlottetown Islanders. And once again, he made a move off-season last year to bring in Colton Ellis. At this time, making in a move to bring in a major impact 20. And you talk about how said money, Simino is said mint because he is just adding that much currency to the Islanders.
That team was unbelievable last year, and with the addition of Simino into this upcoming season, they're going to be another powerhouse. You're going to see them go for another run. They'll have a team again that'll be a very deep, competitive team. Guys, what are your thoughts? Jim Holton, right now, confident in what he has in terms of goaltending. Craig, I'll get your thoughts.
Well, I think they're going to probably address maybe a backup role through the European import draft. I think they might be targeting a goaltender there, and just to make sure that they have that depth in that position. So all the pieces are there, and Jim and Trevor have done a fantastic job, really building a contender every year. And, lessons have learned. They went all in with Sprong and they had a good solid run, but they've really done a great job drafting and developing, and that pipeline to Ontario for the free agents doesn't seem to be drying up anytime soon. So look for the Islanders to continue to add to their organization.
They have the cupboards are full with the Charlottetown Islanders. We know Rimouski is coming in soon. Dave, did we get your thoughts on Jordan Torigny? We were just trying to think on that. Did you, with Shawinigan there and joining that squad?
Yeah, I think it's he's in a great position. Again, like we've talked about, he's a smaller defender. Small in stature, but has a big heart. He's not afraid to go to the problem areas of the ice. But he's going into a great situation, I think, in Shawinigan. He's going to be surrounded by a veteran core group of defense that can really take him under his wing. He's going to get his feet wet with a great team, and he's going to have some real good leadership in there. And, like we've talked about, like Craig pointed out, the thing that really stands out for this guy is his skating ability. He can turn on a dime. And on top of that, he's got great offensive instincts for a defenseman. So see for him to have a great development year in Shawinigan.
And just waiting again, the second pick for Rimouski coming up. They took a defenseman with their first. What will they do now?
Rimouski, s'il vous plaît, procédez à votre sélection. Please make your selection.
L'Océanique de Rimouski est extrêmement fier de sélectionner les Vikings de Saint-Eustache, Maël Saint-Denis.
Saint-Denis is on his way to join the Oceanique. Now Saint-Denis, as we take a look at the snow job from him. Fighting in the dot. What do we see out of this pick? I'll start with you, Craig.
Very responsible two-way center, skates well. They might play him on the wing, but I like him through the middle. He might need to get a little bit more explosive from point A to point B, but you can definitely see him sliding right into the third line center role for Serge and the organization. And this kid definitely has that shut-down, strong center, two-way center role, gritty. And here's a forward that can really, really make a difference. So it's a great selection, and now you're starting to see organizations with that, with Rimouski picking at 10 here, going and really targeting their players. St. Denis was ranked 20th by Central Scouting. So right now you're going to see teams target their players, and with so many picks in the first round, Drummondville and Rimouski can target organizational need as well as the best players.
That's right. Rimouski still has 2 more picks in this first round. Dave, I'll go to you. They've got the defender, they've got the forward. Again, looking for best talent as Rimouski continues to prepare for 2 more picks. What other needs do you think they're going to be looking to fulfill?
Well, like you just kind of talked about, I think.
You've been watching live coverage of the 2021 QMJHL entry draft. This is Tim Roszell with you live from Moncton. And in just a few moments, I'm going to introduce our next guest on the Moncton Wildcats coverage of this 2021 QMJHL entry draft. Just a quick review, though, before we do that. The Shawinigan Cataract selecting Jordan Torigny with the 9th overall pick. Torigny scheduled to play last year with Trois-Rivières in the Quebec Under-18 Hockey League. Did not do so, of course. But in Bantam AAA 2 years ago, 13 points in 23 games. And he's a guy who's a little bit smaller in terms of a defenseman, but a player that certainly could make a difference for the Cataract. And then at number 10, it was the Rimouski Oceanic taking Maël Saint-Denis, a 16-year-old forward centerman from Rosemère, Quebec, 5'11", 180 pounds. He was supposed to play last year in Saint-Eustache of the Quebec Under-18 League, but 2 years ago in Bantam AAA, 20 points, including 11 goals in 24 games. Well, it is my pleasure at this time to introduce the 39th overall pick in the 1986 QMJHL entry draft and the head coach of the Moncton Wildcats, Dan Lacroix. Dan, great to see you. Thank you so much for joining us. What was draft day like for you back in 1986?
Oh, my God, that's a long time ago, Tim. Thanks for having me. Nice to hear your voice. You know what? Back then, I literally took a bus from Hull, Quebec to Montreal by myself and got drafted by the Granby Bisons and shook hands with the coach and GM. And then saw them again, never heard from them, got a letter by the mail and knew what date it was and got another bus and showed up at training camp a couple months later.
So things have certainly changed just a little bit over the years since all of that happened. But did you have any sense at all that, that number one, that you were going to get drafted or where you might get picked?
Yes, I knew at the time. Like I had people talking to me that, and back then you got to understand like what the 15-year-olds are going through this year. The 15-year-olds could only get drafted in the first 3 rounds, and then it was 16-year-olds. So I wasn't drafted as a 15, so I came in as a 16-year-old, and to me I kind of knew of a couple teams, but I had no idea that the team, the Granby Bisons, were going to be the team that would draft me, and really at that time I couldn't care less. I just wanted to play in the league.
And play you did, and play very well. Let's talk a little bit, Dan, about your hockey club right now. Prior to the start of this 2021 QMJHL entry draft, Richie Thibault and the rest of the hockey operations staff made some moves this week to bring in a couple of players with a little bit of experience and another prospect, a 16-year-old or 17-year-old player in Tyler Guy. But tell me about the moves that the team has made this week and what you're seeing so far.
Well, I just thought we're getting grit, we're getting some skills on D, and some depth, and we hate to see guys go with our organization, but we're always looking to improve and get the right guys within our culture, and I think those are extremely good moves that we've made.
Certainly important to bring in that grit and character, as you described, Dan, as this is still a very young team, and even those players that did play their rookie seasons last year still only got a maximum of 31 regular season games and 6 playoff games in. So they're still very fresh and players that may be in need of some guidance, and that's where players like Blagden and Dig Rosier will help, right?
Well, they'll certainly bring some experience to the table. Like you said, it was a short season, and it was a shortened season for everybody. Everybody through the league. So if we can bring a little bit of leadership, that's going to help for sure.
Here tonight, we know that the Wildcats entered round 1 of this 2021 QMJHL entry draft without a first-round pick. Richie Thibault mentioned to us before our coverage began that there are still conversations happening, and there may still be a chance for the Wildcats to move up and potentially get back into the first round and select a player before the first round wraps up. So give me your overall thoughts on what you've seen so far and what you're expecting from your hockey club here.
Well, I'm expecting for us to be dynamic. Like we've started something last year in our rebuild, if you can call it that, and in a very very tough circumstances for everybody. But I thought it was a very successful season, a step in the right direction. We're looking for a young kid that brings enthusiasm and passion and that are willing to buy in and work. And with we were looking for continuity from veterans that have been there. We've got some good returning players, and if you add the young guys that will have a year behind their belt and a big summer of working out, I'm looking for us to be continue to be competitive and to be a hard team to play against, and then gain an experience and go against big teams and surprise them.
We are joined here by head coach Dan Lacroix of the Moncton Wildcats. Dan, just as we continue here, tell me a little bit about the team right now. You sort of alluded to it there, and knowing that late in the season the team was ravaged by injuries. You had players that affiliate players coming into the lineup, players that were signed as free agents, filling holes. The Wildcats were still very competitive and with a very, very young lineup. How excited are you to see what this lineup could look like? When all the players are healthy and when you've got a chance to see just exactly what you have, because really for the most part in the second half you didn't get to see that lineup because it seemed like there was always somebody or multiple players that just weren't available.
Yeah, that's the nature of the beast. Like we did go through quite a bit of adversity with injuries and such, but the good thing is we had a chance to see some guys that probably in other circumstances would have never played for our team. So a kid like Mueller came up and from Roszell and Darcy came up and played extremely well, and it was an opportunity for guys just to step in the lineup and play some big minutes, and for us we're looking forward to see the progression of these players starting in camp, and there's going to be a big battle for spots. There's spots available for a lot of uncertainty. If you look through our lineup, we've got a lot of players, but nothing is written down right now. Like everybody's coming in and they're going to be jockeying for position. So it's going to be exciting, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, Dan, there is a summer ahead before we come back for training camp in just a few months here. Take some time, relax, enjoy the time away, and we look forward to seeing you back for training camp in the fall ahead of the 2021-2022 QMJHL season. Dan, thank you so much for joining us.
Okay, thanks a lot, Tim.
That is Dan Lacroix, the head coach of the Moncton Wildcats, joining us here tonight as part of our Wildcats 2021 QMJHL first round QMJHL draft coverage. And in just a moment, we're going to continue that draft coverage with a look at what has happened since we've been away. We are a couple more picks into the draft now as we see that the Drummondville Voltigeurs have selected Matteo Rotondi from the Roszell Netherwood Prep School that is down in Roszell near St. John. You heard Dan Lacroix mention Miles Mueller a little bit earlier on. He played at that school last year, and now the Drummondville Voltigeurs with their next pick have grabbed a player from Roszell Netherwood as well in Matteo Rotondi. So we are now 11 picks in to round number one. And as we talked about earlier on, this is where things really get interesting because we've discussed the possibility of trades. And as you heard through the Eastlink coverage, this is where teams might start cherry picking out players that they really, really covet, guys that they've identified that they feel would be very good picks, very good fits with their team. And because of that, they may make moves to move ahead in the draft or even move back a little bit if they feel like the player that they're looking at might slide down a little bit more. So that might create some activity here in round number one. We're still waiting for that first trade in the first round of the 2021 QMJHL entry draft, but still lots more fun to come here tonight. We are 11 picks into 20 in round number one of the 2021 QMJHL entry draft. This is Tim Roszell with you live from Moncton. Cameron Penny, Brian Fisher, Courtney Hustis along with us as well. Thank you for joining us as part of our coverage. Don't forget you can get in on the fun too. Make sure you comment on our live chat feature as part of our broadcast here tonight. And we've heard from other individuals earlier on, and we'd love to hear from you. Tell us where you're watching from tonight, and maybe throw a comment in as well on what you're seeing so far for the Moncton Wildcats here tonight. Wildcats, again, potentially looking at jumping up into that first round. They don't have a first-round pick right now, but they do have picks 21 and 23. Those are the first and third picks in round 2 tomorrow morning. Could they package one or more of those together to jump up into round 1? We will have to wait and see. The Moncton Wildcats, again, still looking around at different possibilities here in round number 1, as we are 11 picks in with the Rimouski Oceanic on the clock. That would be their third of 4 picks in round number 1. They've done that before. They had 4 way back in 2006. In fact, that year they had 4 in the top 8, and they were a very impressive draft picks that year as well. Patrice Cormier, part of that draft for the Rimouski Oceanic at that time. Let's jump back now to more live coverage of the 2021 QMJHL entry draft.
Look for this guy to have an impact right away. He's going to be Q ready.
And Dave, what's your thoughts on Corsell?
Well, another interesting pick by Rimouski, but again, when you look down their depth chart, I really am not surprised. You know, if you take that one extra little look at your homework. To Craig's point, I would agree that this is a kid who's probably going to slot into your top 9, maybe into the bottom half of your forward lineup, but this is a kid who can step in right away. He's got an offensive skill set that's fantastic. He's got good skating ability. You know, he's very offensive minded. So again, this is a guy who you can certainly hide him into your lineup. He's going to be a good player for them on the right side. So another interesting. Going a little off the board on this one, but again, props to Rimouski. They've certainly done their homework on these players.
And doing the homework on these players, and I think this comes down to scouting. Of course, we're talking about 15-year-old kids. What goes into judging what a kid is going to look like at 16, 17, 18, and how do you see them physically maturing? I'll start with you, Craig.
Well, you know, 5 years into, my journey in scouting, every time I go to the rink, I learn something new and really have to thank all my other scouts and colleagues in the scouting world for, providing that knowledge. But when I look at a player, can they think the game and can they skate and can they move? And then really that's the foundation to build on. Can they think the game? Can they skate? And then it's the processing it. But character and playing to your identity is so important. And really, it's cliche, but in this day and age, do you really want to be a hockey player? How bad do you want to get to the next level? And are you willing to pay the price and make all the sacrifices to get into the QMJHL and beyond? And those, really, it's all about the intangibles at that stage. It's very, very difficult. Personally, I miss Jordan Spence. I saw him a lot. But a lot of teams miss Jordan Spence. So I carry a Jordan Spence. Every time I go into the rink, I'm carrying that player and that potential with me as I evaluate and project talent.
Jordan Spence, young man born in, I believe, Osaka originally. Dave, where do you see Blainville going on their next pick?
Well, Blainville, again, it's an interesting predicament that they find themselves in. They've addressed some help already earlier in this draft. I can really see them. I look down the board here. I can really see them find some help on the wing. Still a lot of good players on the board, and you know what? You look down and there's a kid. Justin Boiselle, this is a kid who's a 200-foot player. He shows good offensive capabilities. He's responsible defensively. He could be a really good fit for the Armada. Again, another guy who could probably slide right into their top 9 and be an impact player next year.
Blainville has already got a winger picked this with Alexei Bork, so trying to complement the play on the edge, if you will.
Yeah, exactly. And they're still great stay-at-home defenders that, again, that fulfills such an important role. Nowadays, the position of defense, you think it's so offensive nowadays, but a stay-at-home defender is always an important and critical role that each team needs. So when you have big body guys, just looking down the list here, Jesse Carrier, that guy's, I think he's pulling in at 189 pounds. He's a big body, tough to get through, and someone that I'm sure a team will pick up soon.
Well, let's see who Blainville is picking now, their second pick here in the first round.
Blainville-Boisbriand, s'il vous plaît, procédez à l'annonce de votre sélection. Please make your selection.
L'Armada de Blainville-Boisbriand est privilégié d'accueillir dans son équipe des grenadiers de Châteauguay, Justin Boissel.
And Boissel going to Blainville. You see the excitement there in Châteauguay. Again, this is a kid that not just offensively, but defensively on the wing is going to be a big impact. And you talk about size, 6 foot, 188. That is size ready for the Q. Sure.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Well, bring in the guys. Again, they'll reiterate, he's so versatile to have that explosive power to drive around a defender, drive wide, drop that shoulder, get a shot off on that far side is something that he can do. Craig, let's bring you in on this pick, a much deserving selection by Blainville.
Well, I just, love to see the family's reaction. And that's one thing that I think we all miss is hearing and seeing the reaction of these families and the sacrifices that they've made to get their children to this spot in their lives and in their careers. I think it's great to see the families react. So this player, he's a north-south player, and boy, oh boy, he's power forward potential, good skills, good release, but he's a throwback player, right? And he's not going to get pushed around. Watch for this player to really have, step in and, he fill that bottom six role and then beyond, stepping up as a 17 and an 18-year-old in the league.
And Dave, yeah, you saw this coming on the wing, and Blainville, they are not done yet. They've still got a couple more here in the round. So Victoriaville on the clock. What do we see with the Victoriaville Tigers? We saw a lot of them in the playoffs, and we see them as winning the President Cup. So yeah, they've played the most out of anyone.
Well, let's talk about them. We saw that organization, that team come in and really give the Charlottetown Islanders a run. They've already unloaded La Rochelle, Fabio Jacobo as well, leaving that team. But I mean, Dave, when we look at Victoriaville and the team that they had this past year, very impactful. They're going to want to try and maintain some of that grit that they had.
Oh, of course. Obviously, once you get that taste of championship, you want it more and more and more. And this was probably, I would say, the oldest team in the league. And it's funny that we say that when we're talking about 19-year-olds, but Victoriaville definitely had a loaded group of very talented veterans on their team, and it's going to leave them with quite a few holes to fill in their lineup and in their roster. Especially on the back end. So, and also maybe, with the loss of Sean Alamont, former Eagle, this is the Q and it's a business. I would look to them to probably make a selection to again rebuild that back end. And if not, if they decide to go a forward route, maybe looking for a talented center that they can develop and groom.
Well, yeah, and that's one guy when you talk about on the back end, Marc-Olivier Baudry still on the board. Central Scouting had him at 5. Craig, what's your take on that?
Well, you look at Victoriaville, and we talked about, and I think Kenzie hit the nail on the head, a team, right? A team. They built a championship caliber winning team, and they played as a team, and they played as a group collectively. So props to that organization for making all the right moves. And Val-d'Or, you have to give them credit for an unbelievable season as well. But you look at this, now's the time. You've won a championship. Now you have to start from the ground up. foundational pick here for the Tigre.
Yeah, and that, I guess, you know, you look at the wheel of junior hockey, if you will. You win your championship. It isn't a dynasty, although I think we had, who was it that the Rouen Noranda have had the Memorial Cup for the last 3 years, right? if we're just counting it on that. It is so interesting with the wheel, and when you look at that, Dave, the wheel working, trying to encourage, I guess, you see the casual fan that when they see everyone getting traded at a trade period, trying to figure out why that's happening. I mean, it's not like the pro sports, is it?
It's not like the pro sports, not at all. And you know, we all know that major junior hockey it's a cyclical thing, and because unlike pro hockey where contracts end and you can re-sign players, at junior hockey, once you hit a certain age, you're no longer eligible to play. So that's what makes it.
And welcome back to Moncton. Tim Roszell with you with live coverage of the Moncton Wildcats 2021 QMJHL entry draft. We're breaking away from the coverage of the draft for just a moment, as now we're going to welcome another special guest to our broadcast tonight. It's Moncton Wildcats' Nic Riopel.
Well, we have a very special guest joining us tonight as part of our 2021 first-round QMJHL draft coverage. Many fans will recognize this name from days gone by. It's former Moncton Wildcats great Nic Riopel. Nic, how are you?
Really good. Thanks, Tim, for having me.
Well, thank you so much for joining our broadcast here tonight. The QMJHL draft is certainly part of your story from your time with the Wildcats as well. You were a first-round pick, 14th overall, back in 2005 at a draft that was held in Chicoutimi. Tell me about your draft day.
Yeah, it was. I still remember it, even from just like if it was from yesterday. I obviously being selected in the first round, I had a lot of interest from a lot of teams that year. I remember every time a team was calling, and I was, calling my parents back to tell them that, hey, Drummondville have called, Halifax have called, and I remember that. Actually, I had like 3 meetings with the Gatineau Olympics that showed a lot of interest, and we had dinners with them. We had a lot of meetings, and they met with my family, and they just wanted to make sure if they were going to draft me, they were. I was going there as a 16 years old because they needed a guy to be there as a 16 to be after that number 1 at 17, and so I remember all of that. And I remember the Wildcats calling me, asking literally 2 questions, and the number 1 question was, are you going in grade 11 next year? I say yes. And are you planning on, playing in the QMJHL? I say yes. And that were the only 2 questions that they pretty much asked me. So I kind of was a little bit disappointed at the time, just because I thought they didn't show that much of interest. And obviously, my one of the goaler that I was admiring when I was younger was Corey Crawford, which was playing for the Moncton Wildcats. So when it came down to the draft day, already souped up with my family. And then the first round is starting, and the Gatineau Olympics had like 2 picks, one on number 3, I believe, and one number 15 or like that. So when I saw 11, 12, and I saw Gatineau coming up, and they kind of showed me a little bit the back of the jersey showing my name, so I was pretty excited that I would be a first round pick. And then I remember me and my friends say, hey, who are the Moncton Wildcats going to pick for the Memorial Cup here? And I remember Mr. Irving going to up front and on the stage and say, goaltender Nic Riopel. And then I was like, oh my God, it's me, and just remembering also my mom said, where is this Moncton? Which province is this Moncton? I don't know where it is. So, but no, obviously it was was an emotional day for me and my family. Just really proud to be selected in the first round, first goalie selected as well. And just to know that I would then follow the path and the footstep of Corey Crawford was very something I was looking forward to it. And just being around great coaches with Ted Nolan, Danny Flynn, Dan Lacroix at the time. So just I was really, really excited, and overall it was just a great day. So just show you that, you know, even if you don't have a call or you get just a quick call, it doesn't mean anything.
Well, I was just going to say it must have been funny because you probably felt like they were almost throwing you off the scent a little bit because you know, they ultimately selected you at number 14, but did you have any kind of a sense at all that maybe they were going to take you, or were you pretty convinced that you know, that you were going to Gatineau or somewhere else?
Well, I was, to be honest, Tim, I was really convinced I was going to Gatineau, just because the teams that were picking before Gatineau, and I knew I wasn't going to go third overall. So, you know, a few teams before, I believe it was like Lewiston at the time, and which actually selected Pat Cusack, one of my good friends I played with in Major AAA. And then Victoriaville, they drafted Charland, who worked for the Moncton Wildcats for quite a bit. So I just knew that, you know, down the line, I think I could have ended up with Gatineau, just because Benoit Groux, who was the head coach and was actually a little bit my head coach in Syracuse while I was at the Crunch before retiring. He was really interested and asked 10 minutes before the draft started, hey, if we pick your son, is he coming as a 16 in Gatineau? And my mom, I remember, yes, he would be going. And then when just for us, the Wildcats, we thought we were going to pick a really, really high-end prospect, maybe forward that could maybe potentially play with the Moncton as a 16 during the Memorial Cup year. But obviously their mindset was to draft really good goalies, and I think I was one of them also that they used to draft a first-round pick goalie, and I just think that, you know, after 4 years when they knew that Corey was leaving, was just time for them to start kind of a rebuild on that department.
So if you could sort of think back to that draft day itself and go through all the sort of the scenarios in your mind, you know, going up to the stage, getting the jersey, all the hoopla that surrounds the QMJHL first round pick in a regular year. Of course, it's a virtual draft this year, and it was last year as well. But in a more traditional QMJHL draft year, go back to your day and what sticks out. What's the biggest memory that you take from that day, from all the glitz and glamour that was?
Yeah, well, I think it just when you're kind of targeting as a first round pick, what's really nice is that there's a lot of attention to those first, second round pick a few days before the draft. I remember I was invited to Chicoutimi, I think 3 days before the draft with my family. I had my own private hotel room, which was, you know, I found it was really nice. And then we had one-by-one presentation in front of the media. We had a lot of TV interview, newsletters interviews. So it was really nice to connect, and you could feel the vibe. And Chicoutimi is an outstanding town, is a hockey town, and you could see the happening being around the town and the hype that was bringing the draft, and that's why, like, at the draft day, it was just really exciting. It started really early in the morning. I believe it was 10, and, you know, as every player, you know, at 8 o'clock you're ready to go, all suited up, tie and shirt and tie and everything. So, but when you get to the rink, and in my days it was different than right now. In my days, the ice was cut in half, and then the first half was the stage plus all the tables for the teams, and then the top 2 or top 3 rounds were on the ice surface, and then all the other players from the list, like 4th, 5th, and 6th over, were in the stand with their family and stuff. So, but we had like I think I was in the 1st or 2nd row, so it just meant a lot to me. But obviously, that's just part of the show. Once you get drafted, nice little young lady coming up, taking your suit out, and then walking down the red carpet, and going up the stairs, and just remembering like all the staff, Mr. Irving and Ted Nolan was really impressive. My dad was telling me just before they announced my pick, oh my God, Ted Nolan, like former NHL coach, and wonder who he's gonna pick. And then when it was all me, it was just really nice for me, but my family as well, and just putting up the jersey and feeling the love from the rink and the fans. And also I'm really proud that I was the first goalie selected. For me, it was kind of a personal goal I had once the season was over, to just hopefully get selected the first goalie, and it's something I will just remember. And then after they announce you go in the tunnel, other part of the ring, order your equipment, your fittings, all your stuff. You're going in the booth, and a little gift with for yourself, for your dad, for your mom. And I remember Lise Doucet for regarding the school and explaining everything to me about school, and they took care of me like from the first minute I was drafted, from actually the last minute I played with them. So I just have great souvenir from my time with the Wildcats.
Go. Well, that is Moncton Wildcats legendary goaltender Nic Riopel. We're going to rejoin that conversation in just a few moments. We've got some picks to bring you up to date on here as we continue the Moncton Wildcats coverage of the 2021 first round of the QMJHL entry draft. Just to bring you up to date, at number 12, Maxime Cursal, a right winger taken by the Rimouski Oceanic. That is at the number 12 pick overall. He was supposed to play last year with Saint-Eustache in the Quebec Under-18 Hockey League. At number 13, it was Justin Boissel, a 6-foot, 188-pound right winger. He was supposed to play last year with Châteauguay in the Quebec Under-18 Hockey League. He goes 13th overall to Blainville-Boisbriand. This is one that we wanted to keep an eye on for you as well. At number 14, Justin Gendron from the Moncton Flyers of the New Brunswick PEI Under-18 Hockey League. Justin goes 14th to the 2021 President Cup winning Victoriaville Teague. Gendron last year played, of course, for the Flyers, 11 points, including 6 goals in 14 games. And Gendron is a right winger, player who is 6'1", 185 pounds from Dieppe. So another local product. Congratulations to Justin as he goes at number 14 overall. And we also have a 15th overall pick now, as well as a goaltender, Kyle Hagan, first goalie off the board in the 2021 QMJHL entry draft. He goes 15th overall to the Rimouski Oceanic. He was supposed to play last year with Lac St. Louis in the Quebec Under-18 Hockey League. So a goaltender has now gone in the QMJHL entry draft. Well, now there are only 5 picks left in round 1 of the 2021 QMJHL entry draft. And as we've been talking about throughout the night, the Wildcats have been looking at potentially moving up from their current position, which is at number 21 and 23, the first and third picks in the second round of the QMJHL entry draft. They're looking at moving up, getting back into the first round, and potentially seeing if they could pick a player in round number 1. No word as of yet on whether or not any kind of a deal has been made as you take a look at where the Wildcats sit at this moment in terms of what draft picks they do hold. The Acadie Bathurst Teton are on the clock right now, and no doubt there are some discussions going on right now among the Wildcats staff about whether to potentially try and make a move with just 5 picks left here in round number 1. Acadie Bathurst up at number 16, then Drummondville picks again at number 17. That'll be their 3rd selection of this first round. Bakemo's 2nd pick comes up at number 18. Then the Rouyn-Noranda Huskies pick 19th. St. John is the last pick in the first round at 20th overall. So that's where we are right now in round 1 of the 2021 QMJHL entry draft. Let's return to my conversation with Moncton Wildcats former goaltender Nic Riopel.
I certainly want to talk about a few other things before we wrap up here with you, Nic, but I do want to ask you, do you get nostalgic at this time of year when you know that the Q draft is right around the corner and there's a fresh crop of young players that are, going to be making their way into the league to become the next stars and superstars in the Q?
Well, for sure. Like I think the QMJHL, they do such a great job to make the draft a big happening because you don't see this in the OHL, you don't see this in the WHL. I think everything is online. We call it the Bantam draft, and I think from the players from the Quebec, the Maritimes that attends the QMJHL draft, it's just at some occasion, and for some players and for some family, it will be the best day of their life. Remember, like once you're young, your dream is to play, obviously, in the NHL at first, midget AAA, and people start paying to go watch you play, and then it's just to be drafted in the QMJHL. You can see at the back. I still have one of my jersey that was selected. I still have the hat. It's just a great moment. It's the best junior league, in Quebec, in the east part of the Canada. So it doesn't really matter if you're drafted from the first round or 12th round. It's just such a privilege. Like kids are working so hard these days to make it to be the best and to make it to be drafted. And it's on to make it to the NHL. I think it's a personal goal to be drafted in the QMJHL. And for me, and to be drafted first round with the Wildcats, a team that I spent all my career with, and to be the first goalie selected, is just I'm keeping only but great memories from it.
Now, of course, you did play, as you say, your entire career, 4 years with the Moncton Wildcats. Your name is listed prominently throughout the Wildcats record book, which now spans 25 years. As a guy who wore that jersey as proudly as you did, as a guy who won a President Cup with that franchise in 2010, what does it mean to you to see this franchise hit 25 years?
It's very impressive, but it's something that doesn't surprise me. The Moncton Wildcats is known to be one of the top or the top organization, not only in the QMJHL, but in the whole CHL. From top to bottom, they take care of the players like they were their son. I still remember Mr. Irving when I was drafted. He took a card from his jacket and gave it to my dad and say, "Hey, Mr. Riopel, this is my private number. If you ever need something for Nic, please feel free to reach me out." And you don't see that often these days from presidents, owner from a team, and they made sure that even during my time or during those 25 years, the player has been taken care, and you can compare the Moncton Wildcats as one of the top organization. They treat the guy professional, they demand respect, but they show respect. So it's just really professional from top to bottom, from the office, from the on-ice, from the off-ice staff, from the fans, from the city. Every time I speak with a player that either played for the Wildcats during my time or played before me or just recently, I have no one who's telling me that they haven't enjoyed their time, and they always keep great memories. And even the the billets. I still have a really good relationship with my billets, even it's been 12 years. Like, I'm part of the family. I always on Mother's Day, I always say like Happy Mother's Day to my second mom, because she was the one that saw me become from a little kid to a grown man. So no, like I said, Tim, it's just the organization for 25 years, and I wish them happy anniversary, but I wish them another 25 years, because they're known to be, like I said, one of the best organization in the whole junior level, no matter what's the place in the world.
Now, just before we wrap up with you, Nic, want to bring people up to date on what you're up to now. And you've been able to make a pretty successful transition, I would say, from player into the agency side of the game. You wrapped up your playing career, 3-4 years ago now. And tell us about your new career.
Yeah, when I moved up to the pro, I played 3 years under the farm team of the Philly Flyers, and then during the lockout year at the NHL, I moved up 3 years in Europe. And at that time, I kind of decided that I really enjoyed everything that's touching outside of the ice, the management side of it. I wanted to represent the player the exact same way I would have liked to be represented. And one of my good friends, who's now my partner in the agency business, just asked me if I would be happy to start our own agency. And I said, perfect, let's give it a go. And so during the 3 years I came back with the Lightning farm team, I represented myself, but few players that actually played for the Wildcats, including Alex Dubois, Dominic Talbot-Tassi, Jonathan Narbonne, Mika Cyr just recently. So it's always been a passion of mine. And now that I've been fully retired from the game for about 3 years, I've been a full-time agent for since I'm 29 now. I'm 32 years old, and the progression we're doing right now is pretty phenomenal. We represent not only from North America, but also in Europe. We're getting attention from NHL players, and just recently we've signed Del Weiss a really good contract in Sweden. So, but no, we trust the process, and I'm really happy that I was able to live out of my passion, still being around the game, still being around hockey players, and and just a passion that I love.
Well, Nic, congratulations on a wonderful Wildcats career. That you're making me go grayer here when you're talking about being 32 years old now. But a tremendous career, obviously a champion, and a guy who has moved on, stayed in the game, and doing some great things at the agency level. Congratulations, Nic. Enjoy future success and good luck, and thank you for taking the time to join us here tonight as part of our draft coverage. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim, and thanks for taking on me. So best of luck to all the future Moncton Wildcats prospect.
Well, that is Moncton Wildcats former goaltender Nic Riopel, of course, a President Cup champion with the team back in 2010. This is Tim Roszell with you, providing Moncton Wildcats coverage of the 2021 QMJHL entry draft. We are awaiting pick number 16, and we have our first trade of the night. Details have not been released as of yet, but to get those details, we're going to take you live right now to Eastlink TV with Kenzie Lalonde and Mavs Gillis.
Do we think Halifax would be in this conversation? Craig, what are your thoughts on maybe that organization jumping in? And I see you nodding.
Well, if you're the Halifax Mooseheads, they do have a history of, taking a forward, a defenseman, and a goaltender. So are they set in net? Are they set in net for the future? Right now, if you're the Halifax Mooseheads and you get it back into, obviously at 5 and 6, if you jump back into the first round here later on in the first round, obviously you've made the trade. If in fact it is Halifax, But if you're the Halifax Mooseheads, you go on the next player down on your draft board. And, full credit to the Mooseheads. We were talking about, the virtual draft. But if you ever have the opportunity to go to a QMJHL draft and go to the draft floor, it is incredible to see the system that the Halifax Mooseheads use. Now, I'm not going to say anything other than that, but it is old school, and it's great to see.
Is it punch card like the Dallas Cowboys, or what? Is that they revolutionized the draft in the NFL? Is that what we got going on, Craig?
That's need-to-know information, Mavs.
Oh, okay. Interesting. We do not need to know it. Look, I could not imagine the stress of being the head guy at the table with all of the voices coming from around the region, all kind of saying, just like that, just like your uncle. I got a guy. That's all what these scouts are probably saying. You've been at these tables, Craig. What is that experience like?
Well, I really have to steal a quote from Ken Dobson, a good friend of mine, who won a President's Cup with the Gatineau Olympic. He talked about the draft floor being an amoeba, and it moves and it's alive. It really is interesting to be down watching these scouts and watching the communication and watching decisions being made on the fly with regards to trades and timeouts, and considering all the options. I think every organization, we already alluded to, but they did a tremendous job. A lot of teams couldn't meet last year at all, given the COVID situation. So a lot of teams had Zoom calls on the side, with their scouts, and I think it's great to see all these organizations really adapt. But the draft floor itself, and we haven't really talked about trade partners, and there's, if you look down the history of the Q, there's been a lot of trade partners over the years. So it's always interesting to see which organizations are willing to make that deal.
Let's run with that theory of goaltenders wanting to be top of mind for a team. So we still have Daniel Hero, who is up there for a goaltender at a Laval Montreal team. Also, Carter Richardson, Steel Subaru, a goaltender for them. Xavier Farah from Flyers. So there's some goaltenders on this list that could be a topic of conversation if that's what the need is for this trade that's going on. Dave, I'll get your thoughts on these goaltenders. I mean, it's a tough spot to fill. We kind of touched on it briefly, but if that was to happen, do we see any of these names popping out to you?
Yeah, and you know what? It's, Craig brings up a good, interesting point that the Halifax Mooseheads certainly have that history, and another good point, and I tend to agree with it, is because obviously Alex Gravel has now graduated from major junior hockey. The net is Brady James's Toulouse. And this is a young man who had his struggles last year, but again, we have to keep everything in perspective because it was such a small sample size of work, and it was really against two of the same team, so he really never got tested. But nevertheless, you have to give the young man some props. He certainly developed his game, and he got better as the season went on. But to answer your question, if, in fact, and let's play hypotheticals right now, let's say it is Halifax that has moved in to this spot and they are looking at a goaltender. Well, you know what? It's all signs point to the young goaltender, Carter Richardson, in Dartmouth. I'm going to have to assume Halifax has had their eye on him. He's right in their backyard. They've probably been able to evaluate the kid's play. If that is in fact the case, he'd be a pretty nice pick for the Halifax Mooseheads.
And we're still looking at some of these Maritime picks, and we're kind of thinking, well, where does on Saturday there's going to be even more selections this way, rounds 2 through 15. Who are some names of kids that you are going to see in rounds 2 through 15? that are going to be jumping off the board, and I see you got the smile on right now. Dave, who's a kid that you see as a Saturday pick that's going to be a big impact?
Well, I mean, we can look down the list of players so far who are still on the board tonight. I mean, yes, there's still a few more picks to go, but heading into this draft, you know, one name that stands out to me is, you know, Marc-Olivier Baudry. At one point was considered the top defenseman in the draft, and we haven't heard his name called, and we've had quite a few defensemen come off the board. So he's a guy who, if and when he does get selected, he could certainly show up to a training camp and have a big chip on his shoulder and have something to prove. So he'd be a really good catch for a team out there. And another guy that we've also talked about, you know, Nathan Burrell is another kid who could really have an impact and joining a team. You know, a good two-way kid, brings tons of energy to his game, can really slot in, be an energy guy, work his way up through the lineup, probably move up and down the lineup. Seems to be a versatile player. Again, and another name that, again, hasn't been called out yet, which is surprising, is Mathieu Huet. Another kid, fast, explosive, great skating ability, reads the ice well, high hockey IQ. These are all kids that, you know, I think it was you, Mavs, that kind of said earlier in the broadcast, you know, it doesn't matter where you get picked. Just when you show up to training camp, you come prepared, and anything can happen.
Yeah, and we talked about Arsenal. You said 12th round, all rookie team. Craig, I'll ask you, who are some sleepers that you see in the on Saturday, who are going to be having their name picked, that are going to be big impact players?
Well, I think you know, we talked about it earlier. This draft, you know, we talk about the first round, and it's well documented across the hockey world that the scout's job really happens in the second and third and beyond, and at the National Hockey League level. And I think you could say the same about the QMJHL. And you look around the Maritime-based teams, you always see players that are drafted in the 10th, 8th, 7th round. And we've got really the character players.
We've got trade
and
details
also in the Quebec
for us right now. Sorry, Craig, we got the trade details. Let's head to Quebec to Commissioner Courteau.
Confirmation de l'échange, trade confirmation. Titan Acadie Bathurst cède au Voltigeurs de Drummondville, trade to Drummondville Voltigeurs, leur choix numéro 16 de la séance de sélection 2021, choix de première ronde, pick number 16, first round of the 2021 entry draft to Drummondville. En retour, les Voltigeurs de Drummondville send to Bathurst leur choix, pick number 28, numéro 28 de la séance de sélection 2021. Leur choix numéro 47, pick number 47 de la séance de sélection 2021, 2021 entry draft. Choix de deuxième ronde, second round of the 2022 entry draft de la séance de sélection 2022. Et le choix de troisième ronde, third round of the 2023 entry draft de la séance de sélection 2023. Prochaine sélection, next selection, Voltigeurs de Drummondville.
So Drummondville is now set themselves in at 16 and 17. Let's see where they're going. If I believe that was their pick there, or not sure, but yeah, we'll be waiting for that. So it is Drummondville who have now set themselves taking the pick from Acadie Bathurst. They have 17 from Chicoutimi. They have already on the night, as I bring up the big board, have Matteo Rotondi as well, Tyler Peddle. What do you make of this move for Drummondville to move into the spot? I'll start with you, Craig.
Well, just to finish my thought, it doesn't really matter where you're drafted. And I think we've said that all night. It's what you do after the draft. So you mentioned players that are going to be selected tomorrow. They're going to have an impact, and they're going to push for a roster spot. And you talk about players really having an impact. They're once you get to camp, it's level playing field. It really is.
Well, let's see who's on the level for Drummondville right now. We're going to go to that pick. Sorry, Craig. Let's see who's on the level.
That's all right.
Drummondville, s'il vous plaît, procédez à votre sélection. Please make your selection.
Oui, bonsoir. Les voltigeurs de Drummondville sont très fiers de sélectionner. The Drummondville Voltigeurs are very proud to select des riverains du collège Charlemagne, Marc-Olivier Baudry.
And we'll see that's going to be Marc-Olivier Baudry. He has fallen away, and Drummondville making the move, making the trade to move up and say, son, you fell long enough. You're coming with us.
Well, you see him celebrate with his family there, and his mom's a figure skating coach, so you know he's got that strength in the stride. A great pick for them. Surprised to see him taking this to the 16th round, just for someone to pick him up because he's so promising. Captain of his team, a great organization to go to. They must be very eager to get him to trade this deal with Acadie Bathurst. Craig, thoughts on Marc-Andre Baudry going over to Drummondville?
Well, as you can see on the Viz, this kid can move. He's a very, very solid puck mover, great skills. Again, just looking at my notes here, great stick, great instinct, good gap control. Again, like any young defenseman, they're going to have to get a little bit stronger, but the foundation is here. And whenever you have a defenseman, a young defenseman of 15 and 16 years of age that reads the play and has good gap and an active stick, you know he's going to take care of his own zone first. And that's a top priority jumping into the league. But it's his offensive upside and his instincts to make plays and his first pass. This kid is going to be a very, very good transitional defenseman. And you talk about comparables, you know, obviously, Dave, Matt Grzelcyk comes to mind, but Nicolas Baudin also comes to mind when you look at a defenseman and a transitional defenseman like Baudry.
Dave, we had Drummondville take Rotondi, and now they add a very, very solid offensive defenseman. That is certainly one of the needs that the Voltigeurs had to address here in the draft.
It is a need indeed, and I think, you know, full marks to the scouting staff of Drummondville and the management group and coaching staff. They identified a need, and their need was on the left side and on the back end on defense, and they've hit a home run here tonight. I truly believe, and what a gift for them to get Baudry at 16. Like we talked about, you know, a kid who was projected to go top 5, just falling into the lap of the Voltigeurs. So. You know, obviously they see something in him that they didn't want Bathurst to have a sniff at. So it's a great pick for them. This is to what Craig said, right? This is a kid who very sound defensively. He can really move. He covers a lot of ice with that stride. He's a big body. He's not afraid to get physical. And just think, with all those tools at his disposal, there's still offensive upside that Drummondville is going to be able to untap with this kid. But the projection for Marc-Olivier Baudry is by the end of his Q career, he's going to be a top pairing defenseman, and he's going to eat up a lot of minutes every night.
So my question now, we take a look with Drummondville with 17. Do they move this pick now, or do they just take a look at what's, you know, we have just based off the CSR, Baril, Ouellette, and Carrier still on the board. Craig, where do you see 17 falling?
Well, that's a great question, Matt. It's like, do you move or do you keep picking, right? Like, they add to the bounty, if you will. They've done this before, and a lot of organizations, you know, Shawinigan comes to mind with, you know, tons of picks a few years ago as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if they consider, or, you know, their phones are probably ringing off the hook right now for organizations that might be targeting a player or might want to get into the first round. So it's just, right now, it's organizational, and I'm sure they're having conversations about the pick and, you know, their willingness to move that. But they're on a great run. So why not keep picking, right?
Just like being at the craps table, you just got to keep.
Welcome back to Moncton. Tim Roszell with you with the Moncton Wildcats coverage of the first round of the 2021 QMJHL entry draft. Well, we did see our first trade of the first round. It involved the Acadie Bathurst Teton and that number 16 overall pick. They sent it to Drummondville in exchange for a bounty of picks, 4 of them in all. And the Voltigeurs, as a result of that move, moved up to select Marc-Olivier Baudry. This young man was ranked 5th on the QMJHL Central Scouting list and had fallen down into the latter portion of the first round. He did not play last year, was scheduled to play with the Collège Charles Lemoyne Riverain of the Quebec Under-18 Hockey League. But 2 years ago in Bantam, he had 9 points, 1 goal, and 9 points in 24 games. Big defenseman, 6 foot, 183 pounds from Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu in Quebec. So Marc-Olivier Baudry, he was the highest player ranked who is still remaining on the board, and he is now a member of the Voltigeurs. Interesting that the Voltigeurs are picking again. They're up again at number 17. And the Volts already had 3 picks in the first round with that number 17 pick. Now they've added the number 16 overall. So if they keep this latest pick, number 17, then they will have made 4 selections in this first round of the QMJHL entry draft. There are only 4 picks left in round 1 now. Again, Drummondville on the board with number 17 as they look to pick back-to-back. Then we've got Baie-Comeau, Rouyn-Noranda, and St. John to round out round number 1. In just a moment, we're going to welcome another special guest onto our broadcast here tonight in Moncton Wildcats, soon-to-be second-year forward, Johan Losching.
Well, I'm very pleased at this time to welcome another special guest to our 2021 first-round draft coverage. It's 2020 first-round pick of the Moncton Wildcats, Johan Losching. Losch, great to see you. How are you?
I'm good. You?
I'm very good, thank you, and it's good to see you. And I hope you're healthy, because I know one of the things that many Wildcats fans saw in the second half of the season was that you missed a big chunk of time toward the end of the year, the last 15 games, in fact, between regular season and playoffs with an upper body issue. Can you bring us up to date on how you're doing there?
Yeah, for sure. Right now I'm doing great. I've been working out to be ready, to be ready for the next season. I'm still working out. I'm doing very great, and that's about it.
Good to hear, and I know Moncton Wildcats fans will be very happy to hear that as well. Take us back, if you can, and give us a quick summary in your mind of how your rookie year went.
In general, it was pretty good, except the injury. But I got a pretty good, pretty decent start, and after a couple game, it was pretty good.
Certainly a different type of season for your rookie season, obviously, with all of the COVID restrictions and the different schedule with only playing maritime teams and things like that. But, how would you characterize your season? How do you think it went overall, aside, as you say, from the injury issues that you did have?
Well, for sure, it was very great for my first year. It was a big change between midget and junior, and I think the step was good, and I was ready, and yeah.
You scored in 3 straight games, and then just unfortunate the way timing works, that's when the big COVID pause kind of took hold. And just as you were kind of finding your offensive game, all of a sudden the team wasn't able to play for several months. Obviously there's nothing you could do about that, but how frustrating was that for you?
Well, wasn't very frustrating. I think I learned. We didn't had the chance with us with COVID and all that stuff. I mean, we can't really do anything about it, but we have to learn and get better and keep playing through that.
What do you think you learned about yourself as a player, as a rookie last year?
Probably the game. It's very faster. The way the player play, they're smarter, they're bigger, and I mean, it was a different step for sure.
Now, look ahead to the summer for me. Whenever I talk to players as they head into a summertime between seasons, they always talk about things they want to work on, maybe things they want to improve ahead of their next season. So what's Johan Loshing going to do this summer? What are you going to focus on in order to get yourself ready for your second year in the Q?
Probably to be more stronger, have my first step way faster. Maybe just focus little detail, and everything's going to be good.
I know when you came into the organization last year, there were two things in particular that really stood out to Director of Hockey Operations Richie Thibault and the rest of the staff. And number one was your blazing speed, but also your heavy shot as well. How much work do you think you'll be putting into those in the off season, just to make sure that you're keeping up and that the other things that you do don't negatively impact those parts of your game?
Just working more, and just do more shot, do more exercise to have a low to skate faster and to shoot to have a bit bigger shot.
All right, Johan, just as we wrap up here, do you have any early goals set in mind for yourself for year two? You're coming back to a team that'll be a young team once again, and a team that is trying to find its way as the team continues to rebuild. What do you think you're going to try and do next year to be a key part of that?
Probably learn about last season. Be one of the part of the team. Be a leader in this team. Try to help the new one, and that's about it.
Well, Johan, congratulations. 8 points for you in 19 games as a rookie. Have a great summer. Stay healthy and happy, and we'll see you in the fall for year two.
Thank you very much.
Well, that was my conversation with Moncton Wildcats soon-to-be second-year forward Johan Loshing. I know the Wildcats and many Wildcats fans are very excited to see what Johan can do in year number two. It's unfortunate that injuries took a bite out of his season, especially in the second half of the year. Johan Loshing had some very exciting moments for the Wildcats in his rookie year, and we'll look forward to seeing him in the fall for sure. Well, don't forget, this is only round one of the 2021 QMJHL entry draft. Moncton Wildcats will get on the board tomorrow, if not before the end of round one here tonight. But tomorrow, the Wildcats are scheduled to have the very first pick in round number two, number 21 overall. And they are also scheduled to pick 2 picks later at 23. So 2 of the first 3 picks in the second round at this moment belong to the Moncton Wildcats. Wildcats also have a third rounder, a fourth, and beyond, as you can see on our graphic here. So lots of activity to watch for tomorrow. Don't forget to stay tuned to the Wildcats social media pages, and the Wildcats will have interviews with many of their new prospects and some analysis as well. And so don't forget to keep an eye on the Wildcats social media feeds in order to keep yourself up to date and find out who the new crop of Moncton Wildcats prospects are for the 2021-2022 season. My name is Tim Roszell. You're watching live coverage, the Moncton Wildcats coverage of the 2021 QMJHL entry draft. First round of that QMJHL entry draft is getting into the very late stages now. Just a couple of picks left. The Baie-Comeau Drakkar just a moment ago selected Nathan Baril from St. Hyacinthe in the province of Quebec. That pick made 18th overall, so only two more selections remain in round number one. The 19th overall pick belongs to the Rouyn-Noranda Huskies, and then the last pick at number 20 overall at this moment belongs to the St. John Sea Dogs. Will we see those two picks go off without any more movement in terms of transactions, or will we have some late moves here like we saw with Drummondville moving up to get that number 16 overall pick? They traded 4 assets, including 2 second-round picks, in order to get that pick from the Acadie Bathurst Titans. We've only seen that one trade so far in round number one. Will we see a bit of a buzzer beater trade here before the end of the first round? We'll have to wait and see. And for the remainder of this first round, let's join some more coverage from our friends over at Eastlink TV. And once again, we'll join Kenzie Lalonde and Mavs Gillis.
And they might do that via a trade. So I'm not sure, but I am hearing that potential Maritime-based team might be a trade partner with Rouyn when it comes to acquiring a scoring forward. So that's something to look for. Right now, you talk about potential, and I look at a player like Tristan Da Silva. I see a great left shot D-man, very, very skilled, very smooth, good puck mover. But really, Rouyn do have a solid D-core right now. So, but they're a defensive-minded organization, and it's, right now you're targeting that player, and you're targeting organizational need here late in the first.
Dave, only 100 goals in 40 games for Rouyn, so there definitely is some need to address an offensive drought. You would see maybe that being the position they look towards?
Would agree with that. While Rouyn does possess a pretty balanced attack as it is right now, they get scoring from pretty much everyone up and down their lineup. The problem becomes they're not getting much scoring from everybody. So again, they are a little challenged offensively as it is. So, I would see them, similar to Craig, I would see them addressing that need in the draft. And since we've gone down the road and on the topic, another shout out to a Newfoundlander. This will be Coach Yetman's first pick as the new head coach of the Rouyn-Noranda Huskies.
Certainly, yes. That is a big storyline. You Newfoundlanders, you're taking over the Q. It's great to see you. You love to see it, the smile. By the way, love to see what's behind you, Dave. You got the big Irishman pack. Look, this is from the 2002. Where'd you pick that up again?
Yeah, so in a previous life, I used to work for Sport Canada in the Nova Scotia arm, and what I had to do is I had to run a coaching program and a coaching conference, and we had to find a guest speaker. So me being a hockey guy, I reached out to Danielle Sauvageau right there, and she come down, and she was our guest presenter, an absolutely fantastic person. And then she, unbeknownst to me, presented me with this picture that you do see behind me. And that's of, like you say, the big Irishman, Pat Quinn, and Danielle Sauvageau, the gold medal winning coaches from the 2002 Winter Olympics.
And not to be outdone, the Bruins basement of Mr. Craig Eagles as well is on full display. We were talking about it in rehearsal. Craig, what's the best autograph you have up on the wall?
Well, I would have to say the Zdeno Chara is pretty special, and I've met Patrice a couple of times. But the Bobby Orr personalized, very seldom am I speechless. I couldn't get 2 words out when I met Bobby. So, but yeah, it was actually my brother that was able to get me that 8x10, and later on, actually the next year, I was able to get Mr. Orr to sign the famous goal 8x10 at a celebrity golf tournament. So. Yeah, I didn't say. All I could say was thank you. That's it. I was speechless.
That's awesome. Of course, that's the memories. And you know what? It's always crazy when we're watching in juniors how many autographs the kids do sign when we are leaving the buildings.
It's good to see autographs are still needed, because nowadays it's always just a photo. So when you do get, you know, the concrete, tangible signature from these young kids before they continue on to who knows where in their careers, it's always good to see signatures. And again, just the camaraderie and support for all these major junior teams. It's undeniable. Again, we're so lucky to be here on a night covering this draft.
Yeah, and you know these kids will be signing signatures as things keep moving forward. Of course, there's all kinds of graphers out there that, I believe that's the term, Kenzie. Graphers is what they like to be referred to as in the business, in the industry, if you will. I will say the best collection, though, still is in Dartmouth. There is a Hockey Hall of Fame worthy collection that I have seen, and I'm forgetting his name right now. We've had the story of it on Eastlink magazine. You can check it out on the on-demand section, and I'm sure he's going nuts right now with the Habs in the Stanley Cup Finals, much to the chagrin of our... And your father's a Bruins fan, right? Am I...
No, that would be me.
Oh, you're
if
the
I'm
Bruins
not
fan.
cheering for the Ottawa Senators, I'll go down one and I'll join the fellas here and root for the black and yellow. And then tertiary are the Montreal Canadiens, which right now, of course, at the top of my list.
Of course. So are you guys going to cheer? I don't know what's going on in the other game. Are you guys cheering for Tampa Bay or New York when it comes down to this Stanley Cup Finals?
Dave, I'll let you take that one.
Well, first and foremost, as true hockey fans that we all are, can we not pause for a second and just think we could have had a Boston-Montreal Stanley Cup final this year with the way everything shook out in terms of the rejigging, or sorry, the reseeding of the playoffs midway through. So missed opportunity on the NHL on that one, but hey, I digress. Honestly, I'm torn. You know, obviously Tampa is an offensive juggernaut. They just play the game so quick. They can really match Montreal's speed. The New York Islanders are a team that you obviously cannot sleep on. The way that they play the game is just Barry Trotz, just the way that he comes up with a system and his players buy into it. It's something special. I mean, it's obvious. You can see what he did with the Washington Capitals, and now to go to New York and pretty much lose John Tavares and might win another cup.
I think we have a timeout coming in. We have a timeout, I do believe. Let's go to the commissioner and see what's going on here.
Rwanda, s'il vous plaît, procédez à votre sélection. Please make your selection. Un temps d'arrêt a été demandé par Rwanda. Il a été accordé. A timeout has been requested from Rwanda, and it has been granted.
So the Huskies taking the timeout as they try to get the non-regional diction out of there. So, Craig, when it comes to timeouts and the procedure here in the draft, give us a little rundown of why you will see teams taking a timeout and how many, you know, what is the regulations on that? What's the procedure there?
Well, I don't know exactly the the rules behind that, but when teams and organizations usually take a timeout, Mavs, there's more discussion and deeper discussion, and potentially we've seen a timeout lead to a potential trade. So, curious right now to see what direction Rouen's going to go in. right now. And you were talking about the autographs, and that's one aspect of the season, the interaction with the fans that a lot of obvious reasons. The QMJHL and the organizations do a fantastic job, and the players of getting out into the community. And, we didn't see that over the past year and a half. And it's really been difficult for a lot of organizations not to have as large of impact dealing with the fans and in the community. So that's another area that we're going to see flourish here heading into next season. But as far as the timeouts are concerned, it's deeper discussions, whether if you're picking a player or making a potential trade.
Yeah, it's always fun to walk on the ice on Teddy Bear Night when someone throws a teddy bear on the ice that's taller than me. Always a great time, guys. Love it. Absolutely love it. Throw them up, but it's for a good cause. You do miss the bread and circuses of the sports entertainment aspect of Coursley. But, no bread and circuses here. Hard news coming from Commissioner Courteau.
Une transaction a été effectuée pour le prochain choix. Je vous reviens avec les détails. Trade has been made for the next pick. Details to follow.
Transaction on the board. In the trade alert, we will find out what happens here. Craig, you have been speculating on a Maritime team moving into these final two picks. Could we rule out St. John because they're picking at 20? So would they be moving in to trade for 19? I'd say they're out. Where would we be looking here at this spot?
There might be a good chance of St. John potentially moving up or a transaction between the Sea Dogs and Huskies. But again, a lot of teams are wanting to potentially get into the first round. So really it's uncertain right now what direction the Huskies are going to go. As I alluded to earlier, here's a team that really needs some offensive poise and offensive pressure through both the wing and the center position. So, what player could they be targeting here in the Maritimes and across Quebec? It's going to be interesting to see what happens here.
One of the things that we talked about was, of course, with the limited amount of scouting these teams have been able to do with a lot of the kids in Quebec, and just seeing what they can with the restrictions on the Maritime teams. Are there teams, we've got the first round, there's a lot of teams that are not picking. Are there teams that are punting on this draft class and just going to look at established veterans and established players in the league? I'll start off with you, Dave. What's your thoughts?
I think it's certainly a possibility for sure, and it's a very real possibility. We talked about it, or Kenzie talked about it right off the top of the show. It's obviously it's been a strange year for not just the QMJHL, but for all sports across North America, and it's been a strange draft year. The other thing to keep in mind is, the players in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League should be extremely proud, and the league deserves a round of applause, a pat on the back, that they were able to play as many games as they did. The OHL didn't even play a single game, and the WHL played a much smaller, condensed schedule. So props to the QMJHL. But in terms of, to get to the question, Matt, in terms of, taking a pass or taking a flyer on this on this draft class, I certainly think there are teams out there that have that mindset. Obviously, not all of them do, and in particular, Rimouski and Drummondville for one, and Baie-Comeau, as they've had multiple picks here tonight. But it is something that I think teams will look to do and have been looking to do and will continue to do throughout the rest of this offseason and lead up to the start of the next season, is fill their needs and fill their holes rather than through the draft, but more through trade and maybe going out and trading with teams and taking some of their younger players in terms of, if you want to call them veterans. But I certainly do believe that is a route that many teams will go, as you've talked about and just alluded to. There's many teams here tonight that don't have a pick in the first round.
And we've been talking about it all night, right? Like the first round, you're selecting the best possible player, but you also want to be selecting someone. If you have a hole in your defensive core on your wing side, you maybe want to be bringing in a player that suits that position. Craig, I want to get your thoughts on that balance between just picking the most talented kid and maybe picking someone who's in that position and in that need that you need to fulfill. As a team, where do you find that balance? Are you really just trying to get the best players, or are you trying to channel that and select the player that's, of course, great, but also in the position that you need to be filling?
Honestly, Kenzie, every organization across the hockey world will say they're going to pick the best player available. But organizational need is right up there. And, just to kind of go back and really focus on the scouting aspect of all of this, you're going to see regional scouts have a larger impact at the National Hockey League level heading into July's draft. And I think you're seeing that right now in this year's draft here in the Q, is those regional scouts based out of the Maritimes are having a big impact.
Craig, I think we have the commissioners at the desk. We're going to find out what the details are on this trade.
Confirmation de l'échange. Les Huskies de Rouyn-Noranda échangent trades au St. John Sea Dogs leur choix de première ronde de la séance sélection 2021, choix numéro 19, pick number 19 of the first round of the 2021 entry draft, leur choix de deuxième ronde, second round of the 2021 entry draft, pick number 29, choix numéro 29, leur choix de deuxième ronde, second round de la séance sélection 2022, 2022 entry draft, et leur choix de troisième ronde de la séance sélection 2023, third round of the 2023 entry draft. En retour, in return, St. John Sea Dogs échange, trades, le joueur de player Leighton Carouters, 2004-07-18, 2004-07-18. Prochaine sélection, next selection, St. John Sea Dogs.
So 4 picks going, and Leighton Carothers now a member of the Rouyn-Noranda Huskies. That is a very, very big deal. St. John sending a former Halifax McDonald up to the Huskies. Craig, your thoughts on the move?
I think it's a great move for the player and for the Huskies to acquire a potential 30-goal scorer. Carothers, tremendously skilled, has a great release, but playing on a very, very deep team with the St. John Sea Dogs, especially deep up front. So this gives Trevor Georgie and the St. John Sea Dogs organization an opportunity to add picks, but right now it gives an opportunity for a player to have a larger impact. And I think the Huskies did it's a solid trade. It's a hockey trade, but it's an opportunity for Carothers to take that next step. And I think you're going to see a very, very young player excel with the Huskies for years to come. And you're going to see this kid flourish in that organization and really solidify himself as an upper echelon goal scorer in the QMJHL.
Carothers going 3rd overall last year, and it's coming at a price. I mean, they're now getting this 19th pick, St. John 29th as well, and then a few in the following years. Dave, this is really showcasing his worth and how these teams view him. Again, I'd like to get your thoughts on this trade. Carothers, so much potential in that player.
Yeah, you hit nail on the head right there. Carothers has potential just oozing potential. And, to what Craig was saying, it didn't really pan out, didn't really get that chance in St. John. And St. John does have a deep team. Carruthers kind of getting lost in the mix there a little bit. But, with the Huskies, this is a team that's been challenged defensively last season. So bringing in a guy like Carruthers, to your point, Craig, a kid who, can project to be a 30-goal scorer in this league, is obviously the offense that Roy Anarenda is looking for. And I think this is a fantastic trade for both team and player, and a great move by both organizations.
So they're losing, obviously, this key forward. Craig, are they looking to pick up a forward, a young guy from this draft with these final 2 picks?
Well, it could be, let's make a deal. I'm sure Trevor Georgie's phone might be, ringing right now to see if he's willing to move this pick. But I think you're going to see them address potentially, take a goaltender for the future. They've solidified their net minding for this season. As they prepare, for a potential run at a President's Cup with a very, very good group of players. And you can say what you want. The St. John Sea Dogs have a solid history, a very good history of drafting. And it's just a matter of time before this core group excels. And you talk about it. Oh, go ahead, Matt.
Let's see where they're going to go with pick number 19, Craig. We'll see where they excel here at the end of the first round.
St. John, please make your selection. S'il vous plaît, procédez à votre sélection.
The St. John Sea Dogs are proud to select Nathan Grenier.
Nathan Grenier going off the board to St. John. As we bring up our information on Nathan.
Going with a defender, not too bad. Expected to go 4th round, and here he is getting to suit up with the St. John Sea Dogs. A pretty great pick there. I mean, 5'11", he seems to be quite versatile in that role as a defender. Craig, you kind of nailed it, trying to fill some of those other voids, maybe not looking to immediately replace Leighton Carruthers.
Well, they have to address, and look to the future. On the back end, obviously Poirier, Villeneuve, and Desroches, the big 3 on the back end, and add Christopher Ennis to that mix as well. So this is a futures pick, and could you see this player having an impact this season on a championship caliber team? You might. As a depth defenseman, you might. So it's a solid pick, and you can never ever go wrong selecting a defenseman at this or any time actually in the draft, because you look across the league, good championship winning teams, it all starts from the crease out.
And Dave, when we look at the report on Grenier, this is a kid that was sacrificing the body and blocking shots in the preseason. That's the kind of thing. That's the kind of kid you want on your roster at that blue line, especially a guy that's not afraid to hit the ice when it really is inconsequential, but it's what got him in the first round of the Q draft.
Yeah, absolutely right. So obviously there's parts of his game that St. John see a lot of upside to, and that's the reason why they wanted to move up in the draft to pick him. And this is a kid who, like we just say, right, he's not afraid to sacrifice his body. He's got some offensive upside to him. He's a dynamic player. He's pretty reliable in his own end. And you look at the size of him. It's a 5'11", listed at about 150 odd pounds. So this is a kid who's really going to also grow into his frame and develop and become a stronger hockey player, stronger on his skates to play against these older people or older guys in this league. And, I would tend to agree that this is a pick that St. John see as a future. So, when they're trying to build a team to make those championship runs, this is a kid who can probably start playing, as a reserve into your bottom pairing D, but again working his way through the line. And the projection for him is he'll become a top 4 defenseman by the end of his Q career.
As we look at the trades St. John took part in on Wednesday, trading with Simon Hughes with Drummondville to get Will Dufour. Craig, I'd like to get your thoughts on that. That was a pretty early change for them and changing quite the dynamic of their team makeup. PEI kid Simon Hughes now headed off to the Voltigeurs. Will Dufour, what can St. John Sea Dogs expect from him?
Well, elite level, gritty, scoring winger in Dufour. And we mentioned the Islanders. The Islanders do a tremendous job selecting players. And you talk about the identity of that player. So he can put the puck in the net. We saw that throughout his entire Q career thus far. But it's the intangibles, it's the grit, it's the character, and really, a player that's tough to play against, that's going to go to those the middle of the ice and can really, really shoot the puck. So that's his strength in Dufour. So look for him to have a large say in the power play. And let's face it, they're an offensive threat every night. So he's going to bring elite level scoring to their man advantage as well. A power play that struggled at times and then excelled. So again, St. John ready to make a strong push to the President's Cup.
Well, it's a strong push to the President's Cup, but also we need to take a look at the situation with the Memorial Cup as teams are trying to make a push with the Q hosting, and we're hearing rumors at St. John, we're hearing rumors at Quebec, we're hearing rumors that I should say St. John and Quebec are the rumors that I've heard.
Gatineau, new stadium, who knows how long that'll be when they...
Can Halifax host it again? Because that was the best weekend ever. I'm just going to throw that out there. But with the Memorial Cup kind of being in the balance, how much does this play into the draft? I'll start with you, Craig.
I think it plays a massive role, and I think Quebec is building a very special group of players, and I think Gatineau is Louis does a great job, great scouting staff as well in Gatineau. Go ahead, Matt.
We've got a trade breaking for us. We are going to go to the table. Commissioner Courteau with the information. Let's hear what is going down in Quebec.
Une transaction a été effectuée pour le prochain choix. Je vous reviens avec les détails le plus rapidement possible. A trade has been made for the next pick. Details to follow as soon as possible.
So there you have it, a trade. Well, we know a trade happened. Details will follow. I mean, Craig, to continue on your thought, go ahead. Sorry to interrupt you there, brother.
Mr. Courteau's delivery was great. Anyway, I think Gatineau is a very, very good young team that's willing to make a push, potentially to host, as Kenzie alluded to, in a brand new facility. And wouldn't that be exciting for the league and to have that opportunity in Gatineau? And really, with Louis Robitaille coming over, creating, we talk about Rimouski and Drummondville having so many picks here in the first round of this season and this year's entry draft. Last year, it was the Gatineau Olympic, and boy, oh boy, did they ever do a good job with their draft selections.
Well, I would love it if it was Gatineau. I get a chance to attend some restaurants I haven't been to since I was a young 18-year-old. So that would be pretty special. That would hit home for me. And we do know a trade is in action. We don't know involving who, but this final pick of the 2021 QMJHL Draft. Dave, who do you see trying to wiggle in? Who do you think might be looking to pick up one final player here in this first round?
Well, we've been sniffing around it for the last half an hour or so, or the last few picks that, we've all kind of had that hunch that it might be a Maritime team, and we've thrown out, possibly the Moncton Wildcats, who haven't had a pick in the first round. Maybe they might want to move into the first round so they can partake in all this fun. And we've also thrown out the name of the team of the Halifax Mooseheads, who, again, have that long history of being great at the draft table and great on draft day, and they really kind of stockpile their prospects. So, yeah, I would have to think that it might be one of those two teams.
Well, we just wait for the details to follow from Gilles Courteau, and certainly as again, you can watch the rounds 2 through 14 tomorrow, and then it's also 2 rounds for American players, and then the Euro situation comes up as well, because a lot of those Euros, I mean, you talk with Jacques Carrier about with the Eagles, about the hoops they tried to jump through to get their kids into the country this year through COVID. So there's 2 roster spots on every team that really are going to be taken up by some Euros that, you know, last year a junior A kid was able to scrap their way onto a major junior team, but the skill level of the league will be going up. Craig, is there any Euros that jump out to you as going to be massive impacts coming back into the league that we might not have seen last year?
Well, I think, you know, you mentioned Gatineau. You know, Gatineau's Euros are just on the cusp of being really impactful. You know, a great Quebec have a couple, so it's going to be very, very interesting. And teams take the Euro draft obviously very, very serious, because they have to be impact players for you. And you know, depending on where you're selecting, it's really, really important to get the right fit and the right fit within your organization. We've seen, obviously, maritime-based teams hit home runs with import players, but really across the QMJHL and arguably across the CHL, Euros continue to have an impact on the league, and really it's a pipeline with regards to the NHL teams as well. So if the NHL, let's say that Euro player is already drafted, the National Hockey League teams that have selected that player, they do have a say in potentially, you know, getting that player into the North American game earlier than expected.
So we are hearing rumors, and it's not official, that a team that's in close proximity to this studio will be the one that is making the trade. And in case you're wondering, we're in Sackville, Nova Scotia. We're not in Cape Breton, and we're not across the border of New Brunswick. So if you want to play the process of elimination game, that's what the rumor is from a very reliable source who might be speaking French on the other side of this broadcast. So we could be looking at, as you talked about, a team that has a history of picking a forward, a defenseman, and a goalie. So Dave, if you were looking at the goalies on the board, who jumps out to you right now?
Again, I go back to the one that I had mentioned before, and I'm trying to find his name here on the board here, but it's the kid from Dartmouth, Carter Richardson, I believe is his name. Again, this is a kid who plays for Dartmouth, which is also in close proximity to the studio in Sackville. So you guys have probably also seen this kid play. The Dartmouth Subarus, again, another team that was fortunate enough to play a meaningful season and put get a lot of games in, and he had a very successful season. So again, if this is, and again, it's all speculation at this point, that we're thinking that it is going to be Halifax, even though you have very good sources, I'm told, there, Mav. So, all right, let's assume it's Halifax, and then now we're making the assumption that they are going to chase after a goaltender, which personally I think would be the right move, given that, you know, we've talked about they've got that great young core. They've addressed some needs on defense. They've addressed the need up front. And they've got a young goaltender in Brady James who owns the crease right now, so wouldn't be a bad idea for him to have some competition.
I'll tell you this, I can't wait to see some Subarus hockey and some Max hockey and some Wildcats hockey and some Rush and West Islanders and Weeks and So Shore. Am I forgetting anyone? Am I forgetting anyone?
Did you
no.
get the Rush?
I got the Rush.
Nice.
Who are hosting the TELUS Cup.
That's right.
And you know what? It would be nice to see some Chronicle Herald East Coast Ice Jam with our friends the Moncton Flyers, the Ross A. Netherwood squad, the Charlottetown Knights. We all want to see them. We all also want to see Commissioner Courteau. He's going to the stage. Let's see what he has to say right now.
Confirmation de l'échange, confirmation of a trade. St. John Sea Dogs trade to Halifax Moosehead. Échange au Moosehead Halifax. Pick number 20, the first round of the 2021 entry draft. Le choix numéro 20 de la première ronde de la séance sélection 2021. In return, Halifax Moosehead trade to St. John Sea Dogs. Pick number 27 of the 2021 entry draft. Choix numéro 27 de la séance sélection 2021. Pick number 42 of the 2021 entry draft. Choix numéro 42 de la séance sélection 2021. Prochaine sélection. Next selection, Halifax Mooseheads.
Well, they're trying to get someone, Matt. And who is that someone?
So the Moose on the board now. There's a couple other goalies that come up, and we look at Esther Blodin or Edward Nault from Mississauga. What, like, guys? I mean, it's, you know, we do see the local kid, but there's also a, you know, is this, Craig? Do you see this kind of being where we expand the crease for Halifax, if you will?
There's a strong possibility, but you really have to give props to Cam Roszell and his staff for making this happen and being willing to make a trade like this and target a certain player. So I think it's great. And, you know, these are hockey trades, right? They're hockey trades. Sure, everyone talks about trading picks and for futures and all this stuff, but it's exciting. And you can always count on the St. John Sea Dogs and the Halifax Mooseheads bringing some excitement to draft night. There's no question about that.
All right, so we are getting ready. I believe it's going to be, we're waiting for Cam Roszell to approach the Zoom computer. And will he be wearing his headset? That's the question I have right now. No pressure, Cam. No pressure.
Well, it led to an exciting ending towards the draft. I mean, it's not over, but some of those transactions that we figure were going to be all draft long kind of held out till the end to make things interesting. There's a look at some of the kids awaiting. Look at that jersey display in Noah and Ryan's camera.
Yeah, everyone's all excited. Hey, guys, give a wave. Logan Crosby just logged off there. He said, hey, I've had it. But, yeah, that's everyone. I tell you, Logan Crosby is a kid that I'm excited to see what happens with him on Saturday, because this is a young guy from the Weeks who has his hockey prowess has just gone up and up and up throughout this season. He started off very slow, was gangbusters in the playoffs, and had big numbers in Major Bantam. That's a kid that I expect to see going off the board early in Saturday's trades.
And it's always great to see confidence getting, as soon as these kids get more reps, get more shifts, you know, coach starts to double shift them, they can really get their mindset around, okay, I can do this, right? You get to a level as soon as you get into under 18 where you start to question things. Can I be that go-to guy? I want to be the impact player, but can I? And as soon as you get that confidence, maybe it's just playoff hockey that it needs to be, but it's good to see Logan Crosby getting his feet under him.
Yeah, and again, and all those guys on the Zoom calls, be ready, because your names are going to get called tomorrow. And if we go back to Chad Arsenault, who was a 12th round pick, and you know what? And in fairness, let's give it the credit where it's due. Played in the Maritime Hockey League because he wasn't ready for the Q. Got substantial puck, got substantial ice, and then when he had his opportunity to come up and play in the Q, he was very ready. We'll have the Q draft coming up in a couple weeks. Forgetting the date.
Yeah, Maritime Hockey League,
MHL draft on July 10th.
Saturday morning. I believe it starts at 10 a.m.
Yeah, Q draft is we're in almost into hour 4, so you could understand why a couple slip-ups are happening. But yeah, this MHL at 10 a.m.
Yeah, we had the pleasure of doing it last year. Kevin Northup leading that crew and pulling it off, and now we have a chance to do it again. We got to do the Q draft.
And you guys are back on that one, eh? We're ready? Craig, Dave, we're going to be doing some 10 a.m. I know. I didn't realize 10 comes in a.m. at this time. Cam Russell's going to be up early tomorrow as well for the draft. Let's see what he's up to now as we get ready for the pick here to finish the first round.
Halifax, please make your selection. S'il vous plaît, procédez à votre sélection.
Halifax is pleased to select from Pictou, Logan Crosby.
Mavs.
I'm not a... What? Logan, could you turn on your Zoom camera? You have just went there, buddy. I swear I didn't know that. But Logan Crosby, congratulations. Look at they are rejoicing in Pictou. Congratulations, young man. And we already, we said this is a guy has the size right now and is going to be able to come in and a great offensive touch. Dave, what do you think of this pick?
Another steal by the Halifax Mooseheads. Another great person, great young player, obviously. A big body that they get to add to that young core that they just keep developing. And boy, oh boy, again, we talked about it right out of the gates. It's a feather in the cap to the Maritime kids who had the opportunity to play meaningful games throughout the course of the year. And as you said, and as I kind of talked about, what to expect is Logan Crosby is a kid who really turned it up in the playoffs, went on this monster tear, as you called it, Mavs. And that's what scouts and that's what teams love to see is when the grind happens, when the games are on the line, when the season's on the line, when the games mean something and it's important, which guys are going to step up to the plate? And Logan Crosby has done that. Halifax has got themselves a fantastic prospect in this kid. And, oh, boy, the core of Halifax is going to be an absolutely dangerous team for the next couple of years. And, boy, oh, boy, the Maritimes division is going to be such a fun division to watch and follow. And, boy, are we ever fortunate enough that Eastlink covers this division.
And Craig, your thoughts as we are wrapping up the round, and of course we can talk Logan Crosby here with the Mooseheads and just the first round in general.
Well, I think Kenzie hit the nail on the head when talking about the transition from Bantam levels into the U18 level. And not a lot has been talked about that transition. And it's hard. There's a lot of pressure, the pressure and the attention that comes on these players. It's difficult. And, we just assume that the adjustment's going and it's going to be an easy transition. It takes time. And that transition, as you continue all the way through your career, it gets harder and harder and harder. And here's a player that has power forward potential and has a great release. But it's Logan's skating right now that really steps out. This kid can get around the ice. And from point A to point B, obviously, like we've talked about all night with power forwards, they're a little late in their development. But once they find it, with Logan, it's his shot, it's his release, the speed is there. It's just the explosion from point A to point B and getting a little bit stronger to win those puck battles. But he can set the wall and go to the net as good as anyone around the Maritime. So a great pick here by the Halifax Mooseheads, and obviously targeted this player. And to make a deal like that, they're very, very high on this prospect.
And we got Logan coming in now. Logan, you turned your Zoom camera off for a second once you come on in here, bud. Logan Crosby, waiting for me. I don't see you yet. We're waiting. I hear you, but I don't. Hey.
Okay, 1 second.
Oh, here it is. Oh, there it is.
Can you see me? Or?
There you go. There. Hey, Logan. Can you believe ending the first round? Halifax Mooseheads, what are you feeling right now?
Yeah, it's a pretty crazy feeling. My house just erupted. We got the announcement that they're trying to get me in. It was really a surreal moment, and I'll never forget it.
Well, but it took your time to find your footing in under 18. got to make sure I say under 18, not the other one. Now for you, you're going to the Q. What do you have to do to make sure that you are ready for Moosehead training camp, and what are you looking to work on in your game?
Yeah, I'm a young player, so I really got to focus on training hard this summer. I'll be in the rink as much as I can, and I'll be in the gym also. So I really got to step up my game. It's a big jump from U18 to the Q, but I think I can do it.
And this is my favorite question. I've been asking a lot of players tonight.
Well, there you have it, folks. The first round of the 2021 QMJHL entry draft has wrapped up. We had some excitement at the end of the first round there with a couple of trades involving Maritimes Division teams. How about that deal by the St. John Sea Dogs with the Rouyn-Noranda Huskies? 4 draft picks. It's sending the prospect Leighton Carruthers, the 3rd overall pick in last year's QMJHL entry draft, over to Rouyn-Noranda in exchange for 4 picks. Carruthers now has a chance to maybe get a little more ice time and spread his wings a little bit with a team that is up and coming. St. John, of course, looking to be big contenders this year. Then they turn around. They had the 20th pick, but they traded that to the Halifax Mooseheads. Mooseheads, as you just saw a moment ago, selected Nova Scotia product Logan Crosby. So the first round has come to an end. The Moncton Wildcats did not make a selection in round number 1. We know that they were working the phones and working the text messages, trying to get into round number 1 to see if there was something there that they could do. Ultimately, that was not the case. However, the Moncton Wildcats are now on the clock because they have the first pick in the second round of the 2021 QMJHL entry draft, number 21 overall. And then they pick 2 picks later at number 23. 2 of the first 3 picks tomorrow morning to start the second round of the 2021 QMJHL entry draft belong to the Moncton Wildcats. Well, make sure that you're following the Wildcats' social media accounts to get all the latest information on the Wildcats selections, any transactions that take place as well during the 2021 QMJHL entry draft rounds 2 through 14. The American draft, the 2 rounds of the American draft go tomorrow as well. So keep an eye on that. The Wildcats will have some prospect interviews and other exciting items to keep track of tomorrow. So again, keep an eye on all of the Wildcats' social media platforms in order to stay connected with the Wildcats as this 2021 QMJHL entry draft continues. Also, before round 2 begins tomorrow, don't forget to participate in those games that were on the Wildcats app. And if you missed them earlier tonight, the Wildcats had some games and contests on the app. They're going to have some more tomorrow morning prior to the start of round number 2. If you don't have the Wildcats app, you can download it wherever you find your favorite apps. So, again, 2021 QMJHL entry draft round 1 is now complete. We get ready to kick off round number 2 tomorrow morning. That's at 10 o'clock Atlantic time. So again, follow those social media accounts of the Wildcats as they make their first selections in the QMJHL 2021 entry draft starting tomorrow morning. Thank you so much for watching our Moncton Wildcats coverage of the 2021 QMJHL entry draft's first round. My name is Tim Roszell. For all of us here in Moncton, good night.